Well, I don't know if you're going to want to be in your jammies for this because it is a little bit more high energy than usual, folks. But it is nighttime, so I decided to play the chill stream intro for you. And coming to the program now without camera working and no avatar, but I guarantee you it's Gregory Anderson. How are you tonight, sir?
Megan, I'm just happy to be here. You know, technology and me, not the bedfellows. And
we tried.
We'll fix this at some point. But
we tried hard. But Greg has been instructed he is not to touch any more buttons. Okay, no more button touching for Greg. All right, we got it worked out.
There's a dog sitting next to me. The dog's only job is to bite me if I touch a button. So.
Okay, wonderful. That's what we need. Okay, so here's my big question for you, Greg, because over Thanksgiving, all of our Thanksgivings were interrupted so rudely by the defense filing motion after motion after motion. I mean, we were a little put out by it that we were streaming over Thanksgiving weekend, but how must you feel and your team and also the judge having to read, 144 pages over their break? And then you had to write one. When did you get finished with this motion that you just filed?
About, actually, this is a true fact, 43 seconds before it was to be filed. That's true. We finally signed off on it. And we were astounded. But what was really amazing was on the motion, not the juror motion, but on the other one, that it seemed like they had 4 different associates that had written 4 different memos and then all combined them together without ever talking to each other. And we found that amazing that Hill, Ward, and Henderson could pull that many associates off of Thanksgiving and put them in a law library, or I guess in or whatever, to write this freaking nonsense. And it would have been better if it made any sense, but it didn't make any sense. So we did the best we could. It was easier because responding to stuff like this is, you don't need any research. And we have all the facts. So basically, just look at it and laugh at it a bunch.
Okay, well, we did that. We did that a lot. And so we are now going to look at your response, which we have all been waiting breathlessly for. I'm so thrilled that you're here to read it with me. This is such a great thing to have the lawyer who was involved in the complaint, in the response, actually here to help me read it. I was trying to get another attorney on, and then I just happened to ask you if you wanted to, and I couldn't believe you said yes. So I was like, okay, never mind, everyone. I have who I need. This is perfect.
You were actually sort of bribed. My beautiful wife and partner Jennifer had gotten me stone crabs tonight for dinner, which is my favorite thing on the entire universe. And so I didn't have an opportunity to drink much wine, and so she could eat stone crab. So then she said, awesome. And then when you came on, she said, all right, I think this will be okay. And just wipe the stone crab from your face in case they put you on camera, and you will not embarrass the entire family. That's how it came about.
This is great. This is great. All right. So here we have the plaintiff's response to defendant John Shopkins, all prisoners hospitals motion for a new trial based on juror misconduct by proxy, because that's really what this is. They're saying that the juror had this misconduct through his wife. So it's almost like he's got Munchausen by proxy or something.
That's a great connection.
I never thought about it that way.
We never thought about that, but we thought about the by proxy part.
Yeah,
but that's an awesome connection
analogy,
there.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna have to come up with a new meme or something for it.
They're obsessed. They're totally obsessed with Munchausen's. And so now they're accusing the juror of pretty much having Munchausen's by proxy, but it's juror misconduct by proxy. Because they're saying his wife made him misconduct. She made him do a misconduct, we think.
Well, yeah, as you all know, it clearly you cannot be a juror if you're married, because
Right.
if you're married, you might theoretically talk to your spouse, even though the judge warned you 4,787 times not to. You might. So clearly we can no longer have any more married jurors. In my
No,
view.
right. Or we have to put them all in a hotel and sequester every juror who's married, because he might have pillow talk with his wife or something. I don't know. We
Yes.
weren't sure if the defense was saying that, oh my God, juror number one might have kissed his wife at some point because they live together. They might even be getting handsy now and then. I mean, maybe all the jurors should be practicing celibacy, perhaps. We're not sure.
I mean, why interrupt a 9-week jury trial, if some handsies are going on? Really?
Absolutely. There could be handsies going on. All right. So here we go. This is an emergent motion to open discovery into evidence. This is their response for the juror misconduct. Plaintiffs Jack Kowalski individually and on behalf of his child Maya Kowalski, a minor, and as personal representative of the estate of Beata Kowalski, deceased, collectively plaintiffs by and through undersigned counsel hereby files its opposition to defendant Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital's motion for a new trial based on juror misconduct, motion for juror interview, motion to open discovery into evidence of juror misconduct, and emergency motion to preserve evidence, and says the motion, which really should be entitled Juror Misconduct by Proxy.
That was me. I want to brag. That was me.
So good. Should be denied in its entirety for the following reasons. A, defendant failed to preserve its juror number one challenge. Besides asserting an incorrect standard and basing its allegations on asserted posts of people other than juror number one, defendant failed to preserve the arguments it now makes after the verdict. The pre-verdict information on which defendant relies was available, and it appears known to the defendant before the verdict. Yet defendant waited to see how the verdict came in. I noticed this, Greg.
Yeah.
I noticed this. He waited. It was like, because you know that all of their allegations came from a Reddit page. Did you know that?
Yeah. We figured that part out. They really only had one source as far as we could tell, and of course Reddit is right up there with Supreme Court Reporter and other well-known legal sources.
Yes, Reddit is right up there with all the trusted news sources you should be reading. And he literally, they had been communicating all of this stuff about juror number one's wife to Ethan Shapiro on that Reddit thread for weeks. So they should have brought it up way before the verdict, right?
Well, why didn't his wife bring it up? She was on it far more than anybody else. I mean, what about wife by proxy? What about defense counsel wife by proxy? Why is that not an issue here?
I don't know. Did you put it in your motion? I hope so.
I thought about it, but I think Judge Carroll, he's got to draw a line someplace.
I think poor Judge Carroll is going to be completely bald by the time this trial is completely over. I'm worried about the tuft of justice. His hair is going to fall out completely because of all of this. Oh, all right. I love the judge, by the way. I think he's fantastic, and
yeah,
I think he's
great judge in the end. That wasn't the most beautiful of relationships starting out, because I don't think he really bought our case for a long time. And it was tough. It was tough starting out. And it wasn't until all of the facts really started to come in. And I don't think it was until the trial that Judge Carroll, God, I'm not going to use this term, got it. But I think that Judge Carroll started to see just how deep this reached, just how terrible it was. And that's not any slight on him, because he's got, I don't know how many cases. And so how is he going to keep up with every single nuance of every single case? But there the case was before him. And I felt honestly that once he started to hear the actual evidence, that there was, I don't say a shift, but I do think that Judge Carroll looked at a lot of the defense's motions in a different light.
Well, I think he definitely was making a very specific effort. He seemed to me to be making a very good effort to be very fair and calling balls and strikes on both sides. He ruled many times on the defense's side. It seemed equal to me between defense and plaintiff, and I think that's important.
We, and that's what I was trying to lead into, and artfully, but through the course of the trial, I mean, we, if anything, we thought that more balls and strikes were being called in favor of the other side. Now that's normal in any trial. Every time you lose a motion, you think, oh, that darn judge, he just doesn't get us. But there was never any question throughout this entire case that Judge Carroll was being absolutely as independent as he could possibly be. And reading through the transcripts when he was challenged by Howard Hunter and Ethan Shapiro, I loved the way that Judge Carroll came back and completed the record and asked them for specific references, proof, why they were doing the things they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see, where were we at here? Besides asserting the incorrect standard, the pre-verdict information on which the defendant relies was available and it appears known to the defendant before the verdict, yet defendant waited to see how the verdict came in before bringing these assertions to the court. Had it acted timely, if its claims had any merit, they could have been addressed before this 9-week trial went to jury. Over 20 years ago, the Florida Supreme Court stated the court system is already overburdened and does not have the luxury of allowing jury verdicts to unravel or be subject to attack because of information which could have been reasonably obtained before the trial begins. Roberts versus Tejada. The same rationale applies to information that could have been discovered during the trial when an alternate juror could move up to deliberate. In 2002, the court said in a perfect world, access to the information would be immediately available in all courtrooms or actually provided as jury pool information. Because of advances in technology, that day has arrived, and it may be appropriate for the courts to revisit whether parties have a duty to investigate juror backgrounds before verdict. But the court need not reach that issue to see that defendant failed to preserve its argument here. The defense bases its motion largely on internet posts during the trial, as noted below. To the extent it refers to alleged comments after the trial, jurors are free to discuss their service when the trial has concluded. Those materials were available to the defense in real time. Defendant claims it strains credulity to believe juror number 1 and his wife were not communicating with each other during the trial. Defendant is wrong. First, the court told the jurors repeatedly they were not to discuss the case with anyone, even family members. As noted below, to engage in unsupported assumption, defendant posits would mean there could never be a married juror. So no, it does not strain credulity to believe jurors follow instructions. Thank you for that.
Right.
Thank you, because we have
where
juries.
are all the citations that we needed there, right?
Mm-hmm. Second, as discussed below, evidence shows defense counsel was actively engaged with members of the public through the internet during the trial, and therefore all the pre-verdict posts defendant complains about in the motion should be considered known to the defense team before the verdict. Defendant has not denied it knew about these posts in the motion, and if it does, the members of the defense team should be placed under oath and questioned. But that should not be necessary. I agree with you. Let's put them in an interrogation room.
Exactly.
Where a lawyer knows of an incident potentially compromising the jury before the verdict is returned, but fails to object or alert the court until after the verdict is announced, the incident may not be raised as grounds for a new trial. Oh, that's interesting.
Right on.
The second district holds the same. When it was discovered during deliberations that the bailiff had left the judge's copy of instructions with changes made during the charge conference in the jury room, the defendant's objection was untimely because it was not made until after the jury had delivered an adverse verdict. Sure. In sum, Defendant's erroneous argument is not preserved. I think that's a very good argument. I think it's true. I was asking the same question, like, why didn't they bring this up beforehand when I know that they were watching that Reddit page. We were all kind of watching it. We saw it happening and it was before the verdict.
Sure. Yeah. Yep. There's no question. Everybody was aware. We are in the internet world. We're in the social media world, and you just can't ignore it. And they had a lot of people watching what was going on there. And I wish we had the resources to put 4 or 5 associates just reading Reddit and otherwise, but we really just don't. And so
they do. Clearly they do.
Apparently
they have too big of a budget, clearly, because, I mean, instead of paying the Kowalskis, they're paying a bunch of associates to monitor and scrape Reddit. And
okay, I got a question for you. Has there been a bet yet? Has anybody tried to figure out, and this is among Anderson Glenn, an ongoing debate, how much money per year that Hill, Ward, and Henderson has been billing J Hatch? Has anybody tried to come up with that yet?
All right, chat, you've been given an assignment. How much money do you think they've billed per year on this case? And it's been what, 7 years, 8 years?
7 years since the incident, 6 years since litigation started, 5 years since it started to get super heavy.
Wow. All right. Leaf Lover says, I don't know, 11 million a year. That's a lot. 3.5 million, 10 million a year. We are 5.5 million. Sarah Adams says 7 figures.
Yeah.
Lescock says 450,000. I think that's more in line with what it probably is.
Yeah.
About $500,000. What do you know?
Well, I've been practicing a long time, and I do, as you know, primarily defense work, which I find really ironic with some of the comments made. I represent insurance companies and product manufacturers primarily. So I have an idea, and we have looked at what we've had to spend. And we think that they're probably dropping somewhere around 75 to 125 a month in defense billing. So they're over over $1 million a year. That's just wow. But you know what the beautiful thing is for you is that we've done a request for production, which the law absolutely positively allows us to propound for our own fee request. So the appellate courts have done a turnabout as fair game. So we get all of their billing. We will know exactly how much they billed within the next, they'll object, of course, but yeah, then hopefully within the next 30 to 45 days, we'll know. Exactly.
Wow. Good. Yeah. Locals chat. I'm sorry, I forgot to set the chat going. It is now going. It's open. There is a live chat on meganfox.locals.com. You can drop your memes over there for Greg that you want him to see, and we will show him tonight. The chat loves watching you look at their memes, by the way. That's their favorite thing to do, is send you memes and have you laugh at them. They love you.
No, it's smart, but most all of them, they get it. Unlike Johns Hopkins. They get it.
Right. Unlike Johns Hopkins in the 7th floor coven, they do get it. Oh, Greg, how about how the defense admitted in its 144-page motion that they may have dropped her? What? That's the first time we've heard that.
The F. You know what? There were so many things. I don't know. Again, this is another great challenge. How many times did they admit things that we just spent the past 6 years litigating and 9 weeks of trial on to find in the post-trial motion they're admitting? Think about it. The photographs of Maya and the 48 hours were not for medical reasons.
Right.
That she got dropped.
Yeah, can I ask you something about that? Was that what you guys were talking about during the trial as the fall? when she fell, supposedly fell, or this is a separate incident?
This is a whole different deal. No,
What?
no, she got dropped between getting from the bed to the wheelchair, and she got dropped on more than one occasion. They admitted to one, but she got dropped a lot.
Oh my God! Now they're calling him John's Dropkins. That is now calling them John Dropkids. Yes, they admitted this. Why would they do such a thing?
We were shocked, and that goes into our attorney fee claim too, because why did we spend all of this time and money trying to prove stuff that in the end they ultimately admitted?
They just admit. And then did they forget that they argued against these things? I'm confused.
Yeah, well, our attorney fee motion, where we're going to get into all the things that happened to my poor wife and family, and all the things that went on with that, will be elaborating and letting everybody know, because I got to tell you, as a wife and a husband, as a husband and for my wife and for my children, finding out I had to fight this hard for so many issues and be away from the house so much, so many depositions, so much motion practice, and then find out that they come back later and admit them, that's a pretty big thing. That's a lot of life to miss for having to prove stuff that they ultimately admit.
All right. The super chats, I see that they're piling up. Thank you so much for sending them. Let's rip through some of them real quick. Sarah Adams says, Megan, you're the best. You always yell when I yell. Well, I try. Welcome to the Fox Den, Amber C. Thanks for becoming a member. Hey Joe says, here for it. Well, I'm so glad that you are. Richard, welcome to the Fox Den. Thanks for being here. DSN sent a super sticker. Thank you very much. Mike Dorado says, Recovery Addict is the Runkle of the Maya case. We do appreciate Recovery Addict here. Cheesy, thanks for becoming a new member. Welcome to the Fox Den. Jennifer says, I want to wallpaper my walls with this motion. Special K.
That was not my wife.
Special K says, Megan, you're the bomb. Come on, family. Let's reward Megan for her hard work. I sure appreciate that. And don't forget to hit the like button, you guys. If you're here, there's 2,000 of you here. Hit that like button. Sarah Adams says, John, drop kids. That's hilarious. And also sad. Mathis Grease says, did you or Greg see the clip on Take Care of Maya Netflix summarizing the defense accusations? Oh, you mean on Reddit? No, I didn't see that. Send me the link. You know how to find me on Locals. Get the link over there. I want to see it. I didn't even know about that Reddit page, so no. But I bet it's funny, so send it. Nicholas Starro, thanks for the super chat, says we absolutely need more wind up Anderson. So you're gonna have to start drinking.
Okay, look, she stopped me. It was stone crab. I got my second glass. She said, "No, you can't really do that. You gotta eat something right now." And but in terms of wind up, Greg, yes, you'll probably get more of that later.
Okay, good. Lawn Lumber, thanks for the $50 super chat, says, hi, Megan and Greg. Read the response and dying to know what was left on the cutting room floor. Absolutely fire. Might need a bottle of wine with this one. Any recommendations on vintage? Thanks for writing the response. I wish I could have written. Okay, so what's your favorite wine, Greg? What do you?
I gotta tell you. Well, Ferrari Carano is one of them. I like Chardonnays. I got the chance to meet Rob in person a night before last, and he was delightful. And as usual, ask all the cogent questions. And at some point, I'm looking forward to sharing a bottle of wine with him. But to answer the question, it's probably Chalk Hill. I think would be my favorite, based on the trip that Jen and I had to Northern California there. But yeah, lots of stories to be told.
Nice. All right, let's see. Rain Man says J Hatch extinguishing a dumpster fire with gasoline and dirty diapers. Credit to Runkle of the Bailey. They don't seem to be very good on the defense when it comes to helping their image. That's not going so well right now.
Yeah.
Jessica says, said it before and I will say it again. My husband with whom I reside couldn't give you one detail on this case. Mine either. And I have been trying to tell him about it for like 12 weeks now. She says, I watch Netflix every day of the trial, of course, and every recap. I feel that my husband had no idea either, Greg. I've been covering this case and I'm trying to tell him about it. And he's like, who? What?
Today I went, I needed to get my iPhone, which is totally beat up, replaced. And so I went into the AT&T store, and this is my first brush with in-person accolade. But I was standing there trying to get this thing replaced, and these little old ladies with one older gentleman were there, and I was standing there, and one of them walks up to me and goes, "That's you." And I went, yes, yes. In fact, it is me. He said, no, that's you. And I said, I think so. I'm pretty sure. I haven't taken a lot of drugs since college, but I'm pretty sure that's me. And so she says, no, you're Maya's lawyer. And I said, yeah, I'm proud to say. And then her other couple of friends came around, and it was really interesting. I find it interesting that so many people just within the first 5 minutes of meeting me and talking about the case start to tear up, which of course causes me to tear up and everything. And so I was trying to be gracious, and I was talking to him a little while about it. But there's an older gentleman that had been there with them, sort of standing off a little bit to the side, and he said, "What's this all about?" And I thought to myself, you need to be analyzing this whole thing about husband and wife, because this proves, because the dude had no idea whatsoever what I guess his friends and his wife had been all talking about would take care of Maya. I thought it was,
man.
I just thought that was kind of an interesting.
Yeah, husbands and wives they're not always on the same page about what they're watching and what entertains them. We have our own things going on.
Yes.
So that is something that bothered me about this whole thing. Megan, thanks for the super chat. Says Mr. Anderson and Jennifer, I look for you guys at Publix. I will see you one day and be starstruck. Thanks for all you do. You're going to start getting requests for autographs at the grocery store.
We're just so low key. I mean, but we would love to, yes.
Helene T says, thanks so much, you two. Well, thanks for being here, Helene. Casey, thanks for the $20 super chat. Says someone was going by Iris Hewlett, not her real name, in all the chats. Ellen C, R.A. Rob, that someone found out was the wife partner of Miss Crowell. Well, I don't know if this is true. This is what the chat is saying. They constantly attacked Maya, Beata, and Jack. Her identity was busted and then Reddit. Well, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, and if they were, if defense counsel did have partners or wives or husbands,
who freaking cares?
Yeah, who cares? It's the First Amendment, right? They can do it, you know? Right. Same with the jurors' spouses. Lawn Lumber, thanks again for the super chat. Says plaintiffs win on their first argument. The rest is spiking the football, and appropriately so. J-Hatch's cost on this motion, $12,000, money that shouldn't have been spent on a motion destined for the shredder. I agree. They should just write the check to the Kowalskis and call it a day.
Never gonna happen.
Oh, Sarah Adams says, John drop kids. Locals.
I adore your viewers. I absolutely do.
Aren't they funny?
They are the greatest in the whole world.
Not mind that at all.
No. Maya's cool.
She would have a sense of
She
humor.
digs it. I didn't get a chance really to tune in to you and Rob as much as I wanted to. Every once in a while, I would be able to, and I got to tell you, it was extremely uplifting the few times, because I realized folks out there were not only taking it seriously, but understood what was going on in a real person sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, like the 6 people at the bus stop. We here
Oh my God.
we here represent those 6 people at the bus stop. Some of us have waited at bus stops before in our lives, and we're one of them. We represent the jury, and we believe in the people of this nation to be smart enough. We may only be medium smart here, but we're smart enough to figure out what's really going on. This is what locals just found. Look at this. John drop kids, but we fix them with Shopkins.
Oh God.
John drops kids,
That's fabulous.
but we fix them with Shopkins. Oh God, it's so funny. Locals chat. I'm gonna need you. Oh my gosh, look what they did. Look what they did. Oh, look at this. Oh, you can't see it.
I
You
can
guys,
see a little bit.
it says John's drop kids, all prisoners hospital. It's too dark. Guys, can you fix that and put that on a white background, please?
So beautiful.
Oh my God, it's
We need
fantastic.
t-shirts. We really
We
need
need T-shirts that says John's Drop Kids. We would never have known that if they hadn't admitted it in that 144-page motion. Holy cow. Here for the Truth says, Shapiro, I suggest you pledge a third of what you have billed in this case to J Hatch, for the kids.
For the children.
JL says, Greg, you down to do another case against J Hatch? Well, he's already got one going with the Kushners. Just waiting on that NICA case to be over. Marley R says, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Welcome to the Fox Den. Happy to have you. Femme Natal Anderson has the best laugh. We need a Friday night wine stream with Greg. I'm not opposed to that.
Oh no. Oh no.
Jennifer's like, forget it.
A protective order for that of some kind.
It's okay. We'll put it behind the paywall on locals. Right. Don't worry. It's just a few of us over there. Roro says, love Mrs. Anderson. Yeah, me too. She's great. Laura Bronson says, sent over by rehab addict. Cheers.
Yeah, he does a great job too.
Doesn't he? He does a great job.
Really does. And all of you are so accurate and on. And I confess that we do steal some of your ideas here and there because you've done it so fast, and your listeners do. I mean, it has been a wonderful source, especially all prisoners.
That's hilarious.
Oh, does that say? What does that say on the bottom? It says, "Brought to you by 5th edition J Hatch revision DSM-5 J Hatch."
Okay, that's awesome.
Oh man! Oh, J Hatch. Okay, Ellie Fan sent a super chat. Says J Hatch's image is a poop emoji. Thank you very much for that. American Nana says some of their comments contradicting their behavior in court. They make me so angry. Yes, this is the crazy part. Mike Keeney says, how many hours until y'all stop doing the happy dance? Oh, I don't know. Oh, you mean after the trial? After the verdict? How long?
Happy dance.
How long?
No, y'all need to know.
Yeah.
Here are the stages. You get the verdict back, and you're, at least with me, I was elated, and I was so happy for the Kowalskis. And if you notice, we put the 3 Kowalskis up there in front because it's their case, and so many top trial attorneys try to make it their case, and that's not right. It's the Kowalski's case. And so you put your clients up there, and they're the ones that should be reacting first and should be
their life
addressed to. Yes.
Yeah.
And so then, for something like this, for Jen and I, and we've been through this a few times and in different cases around the country, and you feel really good about it and you're happy for your client, but then any good trial attorney will tell you, you go through, and it's like athletics too, and other ventures like that, where you start to have a come down from it, and you definitely go into a slide. You go into a slide and you're in a bit of a depression because they're all of this adrenaline that you've been building up for 9 weeks for that, and then slowly you climb your way out of it. I have to say again that participating in this show and listening to your followers and everything, it does help us a great deal, because it gets a bit lonely once all of the rigmarole of the trial calms down and you got to get back to facing the reality of practicing law and making payroll and all that other stuff. So thank you to everybody for it. But we'll get the happy dance going, and when we can finally get all these appeals done, and I will personally come on live and do a happy dance for all of you.
Are we
If
gonna
we can collect
together?
it, yeah. And Jen and I
That's a
will
promise.
do a shag or something like that.
God, I love it. All right, I'll get back to the super chats later. You guys are piling them up so fast, I can't keep up, and we'll never get through this. I doubt we'll get through all 122 pages, but maybe Greg will tell me which ones are the best pages to read.
Yeah.
Let's see. Should we continue reading this here, Greg?
This is very basic about the jury interview has a very high, everybody just needs to know that the standard for getting an interview to begin with is extraordinarily high, because the court and the law are such that we do not want to invade the province of the jury. You cannot come back and Monday morning quarterback these people who have given so much of their lives to come in and sit there and listen to this evidence and finally come up with a decision. It is very difficult. So this is just setting that out, but I think the better stuff's a little farther down.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, well, and I was wondering too, like, who the hell would sign up for jury duty knowing that they could be investigated like this and have their privacy and phones downloaded and have all their emails read between their spouses? Like, there could be sexting in there, for God's sake. You don't want the court to have that.
You're all over it. That is the worst thing. And I actually drafted a letter today to the defense. And in it, I said that let's set all this aside and let's be officers of the court and members of the bar. We have to look at the long-term effects of what's going on here. Will you please reconsider, and I didn't use the term jihad, but will you please reconsider the manner in which you're going after these jurors? And I didn't make it specific to juror number 1 or alternate number 1 or any of them. I just said there is so much damage being done in this case by this level of intrusion into people's lives that I'm very concerned about it. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but that means a lot.
No, I'm concerned about it too. I think that I don't know who the heck would I don't know who would sign up for this.
That's it. And especially a law firm as prestigious as Hill, Ward and Henderson. I mean, that's a fine law firm. And we've been competitors of theirs for a long, long time, with one primary client that we share. And it was just a bit overwhelming to see them go after people like this. That should not happen, Megan. It should not.
No,
happen.
I don't think so either. And I think that if the judge actually allowed it, it would be a really bad precedent, that the loser could just harass the jurors in order to get a retrial or something. And that's not okay. All right. How far should I go down, do you think?
The best stuff is at the bottom.
When you get
Gabby.
more,
Tell me what page should I go to, if you know page numbers or
on for a moment.
Because there's a lot of just legal, important stuff, but
Okay, so we have
Keep going.
about juror misconduct.
Hang on one second.
The record regarding juror number one's conduct or lack thereof.
Right back to what did the poor guy do? What did
No, he
really
didn't do anything. And now they're digging up old domestic violence allegations from 20 years ago.
I'm so pissed today.
That was so bad.
That's what prompted the letter. It
Oh,
was just don't do it. I mean, in the Army McCarthy hearings, it was finally in the defense counsel said, "At long last, Senator, have you no shame?" And that was the way I felt about them going after this poor juror who gave 9 weeks of his life away from his family during the day, not being able to communicate, which I 100% believe he did not. And to then have this man subjected to this is just dishonorable.
I cannot imagine somebody dragging up something that I did 20 years ago, 22 years ago,
Well,
and putting it in the public, forum. It's just,
especially
it's wrong.
me, if they put that far back with me, but it would be really interesting. But anyway, sorry.
I'm sorry, you don't want to dig that up, Greg.
I don't want to go that far. But anyway, it was terrible to do that, and it was meaningless too, because he didn't violate not a single one of the questions that we had. And let me say something too, that this has not come out as much as it needs to. I hope everybody realizes that this was a 3-stage voir dire. 3 stages of voir dire, where there were 2 stages of completely isolated personal questioning. So they completed one affidavit about their ability to do the trial and some basic information, and then we questioned them about that. And then the folks that survived that, then we had an entire second round of affidavit and voir dire. And that was all based on Take Care of Maya. And in the record, eventually you'll probably see that I was vociferous in my objection, because I called it how to get rid of every female act, because the way the whole thing was set up was I thought that we were going to lose a number of people who would be very good jurors, but who had either seen it, heard about it, but had not been affected by it to the point that they would be bad jurors. Every major criminal trial, think about the OJ trial, think about just the trials you've had and the amount of press coverage that they've had. And I found it insulting that we would go to the depths that we went to in the voir dire process about, have you even heard of Take Care of Maya? And so they went through both of those levels of personal questioning. And then we finally went into the open questioning everybody thinks of when you talk about voir dire, or voir dire, as we say in the South. And then you get to ask questions in front of everybody else. So there were 3 stages, 3 different times that people, the defense, could find out whatever they needed to find out, 2 times privately, 1 time publicly. I don't think that's come out yet, but it's important to realize. So when we get into all these allegations like this about independent research and what they found out and didn't find out, hey, look, this has been the most intensive examination of veneer persons that I have ever seen.
And the defense picked him. They said it was fine. They said he passed voir dire, right? So what the heck?
Ethan asked him 0 questions. We went back and checked.
Oh, that's interesting.
We checked the transcripts.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, you guys, I'm very disappointed in the number of likes on this stream. There are 2,500 of you here, and only 955 of you are I have hit the like button. Are you lazy? Are your thumbs broken? I don't understand. So I put up a poll. It says I dropped a like faster than Ethan Shapiro drops the word palpable. Howard Hunter dropped his soul, or John Shopkins drops kids. Pick one and hit the like button.
I freaking love it.
I love listening to Greg laugh. I think we broke Greg.
You really did. Officially yours.
Oh God, it's so funny. I just can't even with these people. I don't understand it. Oh my Lord, you guys on locals. Okay, I don't know. I can't show all these memes. Some of them are crazy. But we need more wine for that. Okay. So you told me to go down further than this. So this is about the jurors. Well, this is about them being married. Should I go further down?
Yeah.
Okay. Further down.
Creature comforts. Oh, I love this.
Yeah.
Okay, wait,
This is amazing.
Is this going down further? Right here?
So here's the theory.
Here it is.
Anthony Kirkpatrick on his website had the term creature comforts, which as far as I can tell has never been patented or copyrighted, and has had I don't know how many different references over the years. And so the idea was that because he used creature comforts in one of his questions, that obviously he had gone off the reservation and had reviewed Tony Kirkpatrick's RSD Foundation website using that term. And first, to dig through all of Dr. Kirkpatrick's information on that website would be one thing. I think the trial would be over before he ever got through the whole thing. But just the basic concept that this was such an unusual phrase that it indicated any wrongdoing. I mean, again, I burst out laughing when I read it. Are you serious? Are you freaking serious?
It took my chat about 15 minutes to find a witness find the physical therapist saying creature comforts.
Right, DeYoung. Right, Rachel DeYoung, a delightful young lady and a good witness for us. And she used the term, and I thought for sure I had used that at some questions prior, but I guess the transcript will tell. But the idea that this somehow indicated that that juror number one had, like I said, gone off the reservation, we thought was ludicrous. We couldn't imagine.
I like how you say it here, but like each of defendant's other unsupported claims, defendant has no facts, but only conjecture. And he's also wrong because, the physical therapist said it. This says there is only one issue arising from alleged internet research specified in defendant's motion. The motion states the phrase creature comfort was not used by any witness at trial, but it is used on Dr. Kirkpatrick's RSD Foundation website related to ketamine treatment. The statement is demonstrably and categorically false. In Ms. Rachel DeYoung's testimony on September 28, 2023, she testified regarding the so-called creature comforts. And Mr. Anderson, I'll let you read your line here. I'll read Miss DeYoung.
Well, and by the time she left you, and give the jury just an estimate of when you were hoping she could get out of the wheelchair. And
before the hospital or after?
After. And then
the goal was before school. So I think in August the school started. I'm not sure.
September. But she was not able to do that.
No, we were really close. And then the pain was too unbearable. And I said, maybe by Christmas. And she's like, no, I don't like that answer. So she went home and she said, that's it. She put on her backpack, got on her crutches, and made herself walk in the hall. And I believe maybe she didn't want to put herself in such a vulnerable, such a high pain position, maybe in the public, at the clinic, at Agility. Maybe she didn't know how it was going to make her body, her emotions respond. And that's why she didn't want to do it in therapy. She wasn't sure, but at home, she has her her creature comforts, her dad, her brother, maybe her favorite show. And she can call a friend if she's having a really bad time with it after her experience, to try to walk, but she did very well. So there it is.
Yeah. And Rachel DeYoung, that's very well said.
She was so sweet. That she was a really good witness.
And she was a completely independent witness, which I can't emphasize enough. We found people that she didn't owe us anything. We weren't employing her. She wasn't getting paid. Do you know how few people we actually even refused money for travel expenses to this? I mean, way to go, Rachel.
Yeah, she did great. She did great. So juror number 1's use of the phrase creature comfort came 11 days later. Oh, this is so good. So good. All right. So we've already read that question. We know what it is. Should we read the post-verdict comments part?
Paul's post-verdict comments. The thing to remember is that I remember thinking, as Judge Carroll was reading this off, that this is very broad. This releases these folks. Now they can go out in public. I remember thinking this at the time. They can go out and they can say whatever the heck they want about it, and rightly so, because they are representatives of the citizenry of the state, the county, and the United States. And if people want to know why, where, and how they decided things, well, they have a right to tell them if they want to. If they don't want to, they want to maintain their privacy, good on them. But to the extent that they want to let us fellow citizens know why and how they did things, awesome for them too. And so to come back after that discharge release and complain because a citizen did exactly what the judge said he or she could do or not do, I just, again, I was overwhelmed that this would be a point in a memo.
Me too. Me too, because it's like we all heard the judge say, if you want to talk to the press, go right ahead. You are now welcome to do so. And you don't have to. He said you don't have to, but you can. Yep. He said the attorneys cannot approach you, but you can approach them. Yep. So, yeah, I thought I understood the judge quite clearly. I don't know, being one of those people at a bus stop, who's been waiting at bus stop before.
All you bus stop people out there, maybe we can get T-shirts that say bus stop juror. Or
bus stop citizen. I'm a bus stop citizen. And it's silly. It's like the entire.
We get it.
That was another thing about their motion that pissed me off, was that it was constantly saying the jury wasn't smart enough to understand these nuanced, the sonest nuance.
Vomit.
I know, right?
I've been trying cases, truthfully, for 40 years now, both plaintiff and defense, in a lot of different states, 17 different states, and a lot of different theories. And I have to tell you that while I haven't always agreed with the jury's verdict, after I've thought about it always, every single instance, it made sense to me. It wasn't the way I would have come about it, especially the ones I lost, which I've lost a few. Never a plaintiff's case, but I've lost some defense cases. But when I came back and looked at it, after a while, got the emotion out of it, I always saw why they did it. And for somebody to come in and start to accuse these juries of being dumb or not paying attention, no. That maybe not every single one of them got every single fact, but one of them out of the 6 got every single fact, or an evaluation of a person there, the witness. And so you can never underestimate these folks. They're, it's like a hive mind. And when they get back there, the processes that they go through to figure out things are just amazing to me. And they're a treasure to our country. not to
They also tried to make it sound like juror number 1 was able to somehow control that jury. He's
a break.
He's the controlling, he's like this Giga Chad, and everyone just does what he says, including his wife. His wife isn't allowed to have any thoughts of her own.
My God, no. They're all independent people. They don't owe anything to anyone, and every one of them gets the same charge. And to think that they're all just robots, mind bots that are following one person is the most ridiculous thing anybody could say. It tells you that somebody just doesn't know juries and hasn't seen enough of them to see that they have very strong passions. They're not going to give them up. And frankly, there's a lot of times where it's a freaking miracle that you get a verdict, because there's some people that are adamantly opposed to each other. I've had them go. The stories are endless, and I don't want to bore your audience with them, but I've had them go 3 weeks and had to have 2 dynamite charges to get a verdict. I've seen it go a long time. So thinking that somehow juror number 1 had control over these people is absurd. Absolutely absurd.
It's totally absurd. Rumble, I see you over there. We're broadcasting on Rumble as well as YouTube and Facebook, I think. Slidey Pie, thanks for the Rumble rant, says, who would have known Anderson has such a good sense of humor? I love it. Thank you, Anderson, for what you did. Our chat just adores you. We had such a fun kind of, I don't know what you call it. We've had like a change of heart where you were concerned.
Oh, you all thought it was that dumb shit to begin with.
We were worried that you were.
Guys, definitely confused. Giving him,
we thought you were nervous, and we were like, "Oh no! Stop shuffling papers! Stop!
Get another cup of coffee. Adderall, whatever works for you.
Whatever works." Yeah. But within 2 weeks, though, we were like, "Wait a minute. This guy has something."
Just somehow, in some way.
What's funny, Megan? I say that to people all the time, is they really underestimate him, but he does his thing. And I know the brilliance of my husband.
Well, thank you, Jen, but I should show it more around you. Something that you learn.
Cakespeare says, Greg, the slow burn. It's true. It's so true. And then once he's on fire, it's like, oh God, it's a raging forest fire, and he's coming to get you. It's amazing. Here's so happy.
Here's what this took me forever to figure out. And it took me dozens and dozens and dozens of very average verdicts to finally figure out. And it is that you can't hammer a jury to where you want them to go. You cannot demand that they get there. They need to feel like they're leading you along to getting where you want them to go. You have to have them want to cheer for you. So if you come out of the box acting like Mr. Stud Service, I dominate this court, the other side is, beneath me and I'm superior to the court and all that, then you're not going to have that jury on your side, and you may well get a decent verdict, as I did a number of them over my career. But the best verdicts come from the jury cheering you on. And the only way they're going to cheer you on is if you, and it wasn't faked with me, because, I actually do screw up a lot of stuff to start out cases. I'm definitely
everybody screws up.
Well organized on some aspects. and the secret
That's
is
why he needs his paralegals.
I need my paralegals, but I actually have a fairly moderate amount of dyslexia, and so that happens in the start of some trials before I get into my groove. But as time has gone on, I've found that it's an advantage. American citizens do not like to be driven anywhere. You got to let them get where they want to go. And so through the course of the trial, I knew a lot of people were critical of me and why I was doing it. But please know, there was a reason built on 4 decades of trial practice for me to be the way I am.
It was great, though, because what a wonderful surprise. We thought we were going to be frustrated by you the entire time, and it turned out that we weren't at all. Like it was just a really great surprise that it was like, oh, wow, wait a minute. No. He knows what he's doing. And it's
I like
really
a sense
genius.
of drama.
Yes. There was so much drama in this case.
Right.
Oh, so much drama. This is a great question. I just saw in the chat. Bon wants to know, has the YouTube/cameras in the courtroom made you realize any habits that you have that you didn't know you had?
Well, sometimes if I'm wearing the wrong boxers, I look like I'm picking something out of my butt.
I can honestly tell you, we never looked at your butt. No one in this chat ever said, "Oh no, is Anderson wearing a diaper?"
My husband right now.
Well, the one thing I noticed that I did do that I trained myself over the decades to not do is, you never turn your back on the jury, and even if you have to. And that came from a great friend of mine, Frank Deal, who's a brilliant actor and is the chief medical examiner on CSI and a bunch of other shows. And Frank and I were swimmers together and fraternity brothers at Duke. And so I've stayed in touch with him over the years, and he's taught me a lot about hitting your mark as an actor and where and how to deliver certain messages. And one of the things that I try never to do is turn my back on the jury. I always want them to see me from the side or front. And it's a subliminal thing about the message to the jury. And I did notice, seeing it play back, that on a few occasions I did turn my back to the jury as I was getting back to counsel table. And I actually wrote something on the inside of my wrist one night that said "no back turn," to remind myself not to do that. So that's the answer to the question, other than the butt picking, of course.
Well, now, of course, that you've mentioned that, the entire chat is going to go back to the trial and look for all of the camera angles of you from behind so they can verify whether or not the underwear looked bad. You've really done it this time. You've stepped in it now.
My poor wife.
There's going to be memes. It's going to be hilarious. Look what they did to me, Greg. Look what my local screen. So
you were my leader, Megan, and all this.
Look what they did to me. And these are people who supposedly love me. Look what they did. I was setting up my computer for them on a live stream, and look at the meme they made of me and my butt bending over.
Oh, Greg, you set yourself up.
That's going to happen to you now. It's going to happen to you. Oh, God. This was one of the funniest memes I ever saw. You locals are so stinking funny. And if you guys want to be a part of the locals community, it's meganfox.locals.com. And they are so funny over there. They keep me laughing all the time. We have to get to some of these super chats. My God, you guys are killing me. Thank you. But wow, they have a lot of questions for you, Greg. Kimmy says, did defense ever produce the IJ documents? If a new trial is granted, could that information in the assault be introduced in a new trial and add more zeros?
Yes, and probably.
They did produce the IJ?
They
No,
did? You got the IJ?
sorry.
Oh.
Hang on. No, that's right. No. Yes. Let me explain. More dyslexia. The defense never produced those documents. We got over the course of that weekend, we got this huge box of documents, and it was, as usual with the defense, where there was a ton of paper and nothing we asked for. And so our internet followers, for all I know, some of the folks here had done some digging and had emailed Joe Corcoran, superhero Joe, the actual documents we needed. And so we had the upper hand going into the next round of hearings. So the answer to the question is no, they never gave us what the court ordered them to give us and what we asked for, despite fighting over the course of an entire weekend. If a new trial is granted, I'll be 88 years old and I probably won't worry about it, but it's
Oh no.
I know.
Oh,
Like,
that better not happen.
well, the brilliance behind Judge Carroll's verdict form means that there's never going to be a new trial. And I can explain that if people want later, but there's never going to be a second trial. He outsmarted Alton Burnt and Hunter and the crew there. I just was astounded at that man's intelligence. So if there was part of the case to be retried, which I don't think there's going to be, but if there was, then that information and the sexual assault, which is even more horrible than anybody knows about, all that comes in. All that can come in now.
Right. I don't know why they would want that. They know this. They must know that that would all come in. So I don't know why they would want it. Legal Vices says, good morning from Korea, people. Good morning, Reddit hate watchers. Yeah, Reddit found our stream this morning. Legal Vices and I were streaming this morning, reading the defense's motion, and the Reddit haters were in the chat, and none of them had anything to say except we hate you. You're stupid. But they didn't have any facts on their side, so they were hard to talk to. Green-eyed Southern girl says, Johns Hopkins, we drop everything for you. It just happens to be your child. Yeah. Wonderland.
It's really wrong, but really right.
It's wrong, but they admitted it. Now the internet is going to do what the internet does. Wonderland Alice says, it's my birthday today. Well, happy birthday. And Mr. Anderson is a gift saving us from John Shopkins' insanity.
Oh, that is so sweet. Thank you very much. I'll do my best.
Tiny Tina says, thank you to Mr. Anderson, Nick Whitney, and the rest of the legal team for what you have done for the Kowalskis. You're all legends. I feel that way too. Life According to Martin says, were there incident reports from Maya's Falls, as they should have been in all her hospital records? This is a great question. Greg, do we have are there reports in the notes?
Okay, so no, not directly the way you're thinking of it. You would expect there to be an incident report from the nursing notes that says that at 7:03 p.m. the patient fell and we examined her.
I think there was one note.
Yeah, but it wasn't there was a note, but it wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't a nursing note. It was placed in, I thought, either risk management or someplace else that you would not expect it to be. It wasn't therapeutic, let's put it that way. And it was used as an excuse for, I don't know, more bad behavior. And I forget in exactly what context. To answer your question.
To be able to keep the door open.
That's right. That's right. My brilliant wife, the door open. That's what it was used for. But Maya fell out more than once, and the reason was that they placed things in places where, you know, she wanted to get to them and she was trying to get to them. And the poor kid, you know, if she wants to reach and try to get her iPad, which was taken from her, or a computer, which is taken from her, or get to the phone, which was taken out of the room, that's where most of those incidents came from. But they were never documented in the nursing records, like all y'all that have experience in this area.
Wow. Okay, that seems like a problem. Let's see. Midnight Muse says, "Come on, guys. We all know his real name, Shapiro. Don't make Greg Anderson laugh about that. We'll end up in another motion, folks. I don't want to end up in the next defense's motion." Patty Girl says, "First timer
I
here.
love them.
Love this channel and love hearing everyone's laugh." Shh, Greg, don't say you love these memes. You're gonna end up in you're gonna end up in the next motion.
And be in a motion again.
Nicholas
Evil Greg.
Starro says, "Is it legal to file motions with memes asking for a friend?"
I'm not saying I'd do it, but
Oh, God. K-Rob says, "Greg, as one of the many chronic pain sufferers who watched the trial and have been treated abysmally by the healthcare system, I wanted to say thank you for everything you did for Maya and family and others." Yeah, we've had a lot of comments like this, people who have just been disbelieved by their doctors. And I think you've probably heard from a lot of them as well.
Okay, Rob, I have to tell you, one of the things that kept me going as the trial drug on and it got more and more violently emotional and so contentious was I got texts and emails, and I don't even know how everybody found a way to get messages to me about that very thing, that they had for the first time felt like
They were being listened to.
yeah, you know, somebody was actually representing them, and that recharged me. And I really appreciate all of the support for the folks that sent those in. And there were two different categories. One was the folks with the chronic pain, and the stories that I got told in those emails and memos were just, some of them were just so horrific. And, you know, I knew what Maya had gone through, but they're just these terrible stories, what these people have been through. And so that was one that really got me charged up. And the second one was, of course, those folks, and there were, I don't know how many, I lost track of them, dozens and dozens and dozens of these folks telling me these stories about medical kidnapping of their kids. And
our paralegal, Kelly Perry,
and Kelly, yeah, Jen and Kelly, our whole trial team got these messages. And, you know, we wish we could take every single one of these cases. We really do. But it's hard. They're so expensive. They're so emotionally and time involved, you know. We would if we could.
I know it. This one has been unbelievable. Like I told you the first time we talked, it's like we feel like we've been through a war. I can't even imagine how you feel, but I do. I feel it. I feel exhausted by it, emotionally exhausted, wrung out. Like I can't even imagine how the family feels and how you guys feel. It's been something. It's been like nothing else I've ever been through. Britt Morris says, "Anderson, unfortunately, I've been in the Kowalski's shoes. Thank you for representing families everywhere throughout the case."
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're very
Chapter says, "I literally spent my whole work Christmas party in Scotland to watch the Maya documentary. Thank you for all you've done. Please send our love to the Kowalskis."
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much.
JL says, "Greg, can I do law school without being good at school? ADHD plus COVID killed my confidence during undergrad. Is law school futile for me? What are your thoughts? Because I love the law, but I don't want to burn money." Aw.
You know, I was giving a talk to a bunch of people who were a lot better educated than me. And I said, there's summa cum laude and there's magna cum laude. I graduated law school, thank the Lottie. And and that is really true, that I never held myself out. I went to a great university. I went to Duke University, and but my priorities, I was a swimming scholarship, and I think beer and girls came in there very closely all together. So I wasn't exactly your prime candidate to become a trial lawyer. Nova is a great trial practice school. What I can tell you is I had a lot of difficulties. I do have some learning disabilities myself. I think it comes down to your belief and willingness to work. And if you truly want it, then get your LSAT together and start applying, and find your place. And you may not end up on a silk stocking firm on Wall Street, but you'll get there. And I've got some fantastic stories when we have the time about some of the finest trial attorneys in this country who had so much difficulty passing the bar exam and getting through law school. And they ended up being some of the finest trial lawyers I have ever seen. So you stay after it. That's my advice.
Basically what you're saying is some lawyers are only medium smart, and yet they're doing just fine.
Well, they always told
just like
us,
me.
Well, you're extremely smart. That's not a problem. They always said that the A students were going to be judges, and the B students were going to be all the technical lawyers. Oh no, A students were going to be the law professors, B students were going to be the judges, C students were going to run most of the law firms, and the D students were going to make all the money.
That's perfect.
So I naturally gravitated towards the bottom there.
Well, this is good advice, you guys. This is good advice, really good advice. Crafty Witch says, Megan and the Andersons is fire. Love that Maya and family had you in their corner. You're a national treasure. Much love from Colorado. Snibbles, thanks for being a new member. Welcome to the Fox Den. American Nana says, Mr. Anderson, much respect, and please let the family know that they are believed. That was something that really bothered me, Greg. This constant drumbeat that they are liars. It's
terrible.
It hurts me.
It's terrible.
Tina says, in the defense new motion for directed verdict, they argue the whole case over again. How many times can they move to renew or reconsider this and that before the court says enough is enough already?
Well, that is exactly what I've been asking. Keep in mind, everybody, that this case has already been in front of the Second District Court of Appeals when they tried to knock out our punitive damages claim. And so that gives us some comfort because there's some very, very smart judges up there. And the fact that they already have an inkling of what this case is about tells me that they're not going to tolerate hearing the same stuff that's been tried, literally tried, but motion practice tried 15 times before in front of a very, very intelligent trial judge, and it's just another go. That just doesn't work. We're all smart people, and we've seen these arguments before. And the other thing to be encouraged about that people forget that in our country, in our society, a jury verdict is an incredibly powerful thing, incredibly powerful. And appellate courts, judges, they don't just overturn these things willy-nilly. This is the community speaking. And, they just say, yeah, well, there's error here, so I just disagree with this, so I think I'll overturn this 9-week verdict. No. There has to be a fundamental deviation from the law. So be of good cheer that way.
Excellent. Law and Lumber says, Greg, is my robot jury going to face subpoenas? I need to advise them accordingly.
With this crew on the other side, you never know.
You never know.
But we'll see.
RNCGSU says, any issues with defense not acknowledging the unburying of Dracula? Seems they withheld evidence.
I want the film rights. Is the first thing I thought. This would make a great movie.
Yeah.
About Dracula being
yes.
There's a phenomena that occurs, and it seems to occur more in defense lawyers than plaintiffs lawyers. Plaintiffs lawyers tend to be, as somebody that does both, they tend to be more practical about things. Mostly because it's their money, like in our situation, at risk. But you see in defense lawyers a myopic view of things, and it derives, I think, in large part from not wanting to really open up to the client and say, hey, sorry about that, but we really screwed this up, and you're wrong. You were wrong from the start. You were wrong later on, and you're still wrong. And so they sugarcoat every outcome and every turn of events, and those billable hours keep rolling. And unfortunately for our system, it takes it a long time to work through until finally somebody says, no, sorry, you've run out of appeals. You've run out of every ability possible to manipulate the system. Sorry, it's time to pay. I have had some of the largest corporations in this country be so, with their gigantic 3 levels of opposing counsel, one from New York and one from Atlanta and one from locally in Florida, and then they're all in there. And I've had them after all this, and you still get to the point where you're sending a letter saying, look, I'm about to send a sheriff down there with a writ of execution against your bank account. Are you really going to still ignore this judgment that's been through every attempt of appeal, everything that you could possibly try? And I think it really comes from this suspension of belief. They get themselves worked up into this idea that no matter who tells them what, they're right, everybody else is wrong, everybody on the other side is evil, and we're just going to oppose it no matter what. So answering your question, is Dracula going to stay buried or unburied? Dracula he might be part cat in this because I have only one life. I don't know if there's a Dracula cat out there. Maybe we can start a sci-fi series.
All right. The chat is asking, are we going to read more of this motion or not? Yes. But, you guys, the super chats are backed up so far. This has literally never happened to me. So I'll have to get back to them in a bit. What were we going to read that you wanted us to see here?
Right.
The Gabby one.
Oh, yeah. Let's go to Gabby.
Okay. How far down is that?
It's okay. So the last couple pages are kind of more emotional.
Right.
Oh, you mean way down here? Oh, geez. We've got exhibits.
Oh, yeah. And these are all the screenshots of the wife.
Oh, for God's sake. Well, that's like doxing people on Facebook too. So I'd probably skip over those.
Do that. Go back.
How far do you want me to go here? Where are we at here? Let's see.
Sorry, I don't have my glasses on.
Orient.
I'm trying to find out where we are. I'm looking for a header.
Affidavit of Gabby.
Affidavit. Is that Oh, here we go. So this is declaration of Gregory Anderson.
No, it's the one of, well, you can read that one, but
Have I processed enough stone crab to have another glass of wine yet, Jen?
Oh.
Jen, let the man have another glass of wine.
I can't because then he'll be too gabby.
All right. All right. Is Gabby's affidavit after this?
I think so. I can summarize it for you. There's
This
Jack.
would be, so that was Jack's.
Back up.
Where is it?
Maybe we haven't filed that yet. So it's the Shapiro. It's what Shapiro did at the reading of the verdict. Do you all know about that? Have you heard about what happened there? See, because
I don't think so.
Okay, so most of my better stories in trial come from the fact they're all secondhand for the most part, because I'm up front and my space is between the court, the jury box, and the witness box, right? So a lot of stuff that goes on happens behind me, and I find out about it second or third hand, and you wouldn't believe the stories to be told about what goes on. But in this instance, Gabby, our law clerk, had to
The
go.
red-haired girl.
Yeah, the red-haired girl, Gabby Carlson, who, by the way, is one of my daughter's best friends. And
oh, I found it. I found her declaration. Here it is. Okay. I, Gabrielle Carlson, declare under penalty of perjury that I make this declaration based on my personal knowledge and facts contained herein and state. I'm a law clerk with Anderson Glenn, LLP, and assisted plaintiffs counsel throughout Kowalski v. Johns Hopkins. On November 9th, 2023, shortly after the verdict was read, I exited the courtroom before the court took a recess ahead of the punitive damages trial. My purpose in exiting was to begin printing those documents necessary for the punitive damages trial, and our printer was located on a small table just outside of the courtroom doors. I was sitting on a bench directly outside courtroom D's doorway with our team's legal assistant, Connie Stump, facing courtroom doors. Less than 10 minutes after I relocated to the bench just outside of the courtroom, I heard a loud noise, looked up, and saw double doors of the courtroom swing open. Mr. Shapiro glanced at me while moving quickly out of the courtroom and to his left down the hallway. As he exited the courtroom, he loudly exclaimed, "Fucking ridiculous," and "fucking scumbag family. Oh my God," and continued muttering other similar explicit phrases as he walked down the hallway with Miss Lessing, the defense team's paralegal, behind him. He repeated those expletives and other similar phrases as he turned the corner to the room utilized by the defense team. Mr. Shapiro's comments were made in the hallway where members of the public and the media gathered throughout the trial. Wow.
yeah. Pretty freaking bad.
That's terrible.
Yeah. He called the Kowalskis scumbags.
That's awful.
Effing scumbags after what they had been through. I mean, okay.
And it looks like Connie saw the same thing.
There were many witnesses to this. This is not just a ramp up of one isolated person's thought process. A lot of people saw and heard this when he came out of the courtroom. And again, I confess, like I was telling everybody, I'm up there at the front. I'm all this stuff happens behind me, but I had at least 3 people come up and tell me when those doors came open, and I will say that it's one of the courtroom personnel, but I cannot identify which one. I really love him, and he was great through the trial, but those doors just whanged open, like hit the walls, and he came rocking out with those words at the top of his lungs. And we're officers of the court, and we're supposed to be held to a little higher standard. And to say that in those I don't care what circumstances there are. You just don't do it. You just don't do it. You don't call a couple kids and their dad that kind of name, and you don't act like that. You can't, and keep the dignity of our practice. So I was pretty upset about it, and we decided, after everything else that had been alleged, that maybe I don't think that Judge Carroll, how do I say this? I don't think it would surprise him, given some of the outbursts in the courtroom and some of the things that were said directly to him. But we felt that the appellate record needed to be completed about what was really going on there. And that was a pretty bad thing.
All right. Well, now I don't feel bad for sharing some of these memes. Okay, I'm gonna do it. So, all right, here we go. This is perfectly acceptable.
That's great.
And John Shopkins, Ethan Shopkins, the Kid Shapiro, probably.
So freaking great.
There's more. Locals, you got to put the Michael Jackson one back in because I can't scroll up far enough to get it, but I want to show that one too. Here's one. Shapiro is here crying in the shower before work.
Sorry.
It's so beautiful. I like the identifier too, like it's some kind of science project, you know.
I know.
Here he is.
There he is. That original meme looks like this. You are here crying in the shower before work.
Where do they get this?
The internet, 4chan, who knows? Brilliant. I don't know. I need the Michael Jackson one again, though. Nick, drop the Michael Jackson one back again because that one is funny. Here, this one's a good one too. John's drop kids can't bury me. Oh, this is good. These are great. These are great. And here's another one. I thought I buried this Dracula years ago. Shapiro, bring me the garlic and steaks. Wayward hunter, probably. Probably. That's what we say instead of allegedly on the internet. We just say probably. All right, and here's the coup de grace. This is a perfectly acceptable standard of care.
No.
It's John Shopkins.
Shopkins.
Terrible. That's funny.
I don't feel bad anymore. Earlier, I felt a little bad, but then I read that he was dropping F-bombs about the Kowalskis, and now I don't care anymore. So there it is.
Oh my God.
That's what you get. That's what you get, Ethan.
So fabulous. I love all of your viewers. The creativity that goes into these, though, is just overwhelming.
Linnea, I guarantee you that Ethan Shapiro is going to put some of these memes in his next motion. He's going to be so butthurt.
Oh yeah, the world's against him.
He's going to be so butthurt. He's going to say that Gregory Anderson laughed at memes of him in an unpleasant manner.
I was already thinking that.
Oh no! Wait till you get to. So go through the. I guess I shouldn't tell him about the dog fart. or the poop trail.
Oh no! Don't do that.
Okay, Jen says no. Don't do it. Don't.
No.
At some point later, I'll tell you about the dog fart and the poop trail.
Yeah.
That sounds fascinating, and I can't wait. I can't wait till we can do that.
Important events that occurred during this trial.
Oh my Lord. Oh God. All right.
Sorry, I let my husband in sometimes. So.
Well, you did give me another glass of wine.
I know, I did, unfortunately.
All right. That's Jen is standing by to stop you from talking if you are not supposed to be talking.
Yeah, the dog.
Um, oh God. Well, all right.
So,
What did we miss?
what
Did
else
we
we
miss
got?
anything good? Did we miss anything good up here?
Looking, participated.
So this is about Norman v. Gloria Farms.
Boring.
Oh, I think. Okay, boring. You're calling your own motion boring, Greg.
Part of it is
Because you know what, we're actually professional, and your emotions are normally boring.
A lot of them are. I have brilliant appellate counsel. We have the immediate former president of the Florida Bar, and we have a immediate former Supreme Court justice, and we've just got a lot of really, really smart people, but they're professional. They tend to be professional, and they won't say the things that I will say.
They won't put my memes in their motions.
No, there's no dog poop in there. So,
oh God, Rumble. By the way, I see you sending Rumble rants over there. Axamoon wants to know: can the judge sanction the defense for their admissions post-trial?
God, they're brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah, the chat's good.
They are really, really smart. Oh, so
that's a
okay. So this is an interesting point.
Yeah.
One of the things that we really wanted to do here was to bring out the whole story of what happened in this trial, from my ever-suffering family having to downsize our life to the Kowalskis and the deprivations that they suffered. And we really wanted to go back to 2018 when we first started this case and go through it all. But there really wasn't one of the few statutory ways we could get out attorney fees got dismissed out of Chapter 39, and that's where you guys all heard the no Chapter 39 stuff, which was, I guess, a meme of its own. But anyway, we do have a way from about April of 2022, before the last attempt to try this case, which is a whole nother story in and of itself. But we were trying to look back far enough. And one of the ways that a judge can do that is that every judge in a court of general jurisdiction, which means in Florida, a circuit court judge; in the United States, a federal district court judge; in some states, it's a superior court judge or a state district court judge. They have the inherent power to award attorney fees in situations where they deem that wrongful acts have occurred, or just because they believe that justice requires it. So the reason that this question is brilliant, and because basically it mirrors my thinking, but that was a joke.
Well, I didn't think it was laughable because I think you're brilliant. So, that's me.
So anyway, but the point is that we are moving the court to consider under the wrongful act doctrine, and a lot of the sanction orders that were entered against the defense, of which there were like 7 of them, to award fees going back to 2019, even into 2018, when we started this whole thing. And we need that because we want to tell Judge Carroll the entire story of what happened in this case, with the 5 depositions of Maya and the 52 summary judgment motions and the 15 different hearings we had. You all know that those texts about Ketamine Girl, that was really so powerful. It took us 15 hearings to get that out of them.
Jeez.
15.
You mean they wouldn't turn it over in discovery?
They would not. They had every excuse, every reason, every way, every manner, every possible legal appeal, you name it, to keep them from producing those cell phones. There were 14,
Wow.
15,
At least 13.
13. I thought there were one more,
Those
but 13 cell phones. And out of those, they claimed that 10 of them had been destroyed. And we had hired an expert that cost us $1 zillion to analyze it. And he kept coming back with the same thing, saying, well, there's this thing called iCloud, and they have the same thing for the other platforms. And if your phone gets destroyed,
it's still there. Yeah.
Where is it? And they had a zillion excuses. And if I ever get around to writing about it, what you'll find out is this case sets the world record for death of cell phones by drowning.
There's
And I am not.
Did any of them take a hammer to their phone like Hillary Clinton? Because that's popular in the White House.
Oh my God! What happened to your phone? I dropped it in the pool. Well, okay.
No, dropped it in acid was one of them.
What they did drop it in?
Who's got a vat of acid laying around?
Apparently, the same people that will do it to Maya because that's part of their deal. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we went to hearing after hearing after hearing. We went through 2 separate judges, and we tried as hard as we could to just say, look, produce the cloud information. Just give us the cloud information. All right. You don't have to give us the actual phone. No, that's unavailable. That's a different model that they brought in.
No, there was a farm. Remember, Howard Hunter?
The farm.
Howard Hunter said there was a farm.
That's
Kansas.
right. There was a data farm in Kansas.
Yes, I forgot about
that. That was it. Howard claimed that all of their uploaded data that had anything to do with anything we would want was uploaded to a data farm
in Kansas.
This is all in transcripts now. You guys are all thinking,
oh my God,
you're having some kind of mental problem or something. No, this is all.
No, we believe you.
Really,
look at this. J-Hatch dropping kids and cell phones.
Yeah, but
and they couldn't get to the farm.
They could not get to the farm. That the farm somehow would not respond to them with all the data they needed. And I am not kidding you. Howard Hunter got up in circuit court and argued that they could not get the cloud information because it was at a data farm in Kansas, and they were having such difficulties with their
server farm
farmers. Well, the Kansas farmers are notorious, especially the data for I'm sorry, I can't go on.
This is almost as bad. This is almost as bad as that doctor who said that the hurricane ate the test results.
Yes.
What was that?
Yeah.
The phones are with the IJ report, says Nikki.
All right, so all right. Megan, here's what we want to do. If we ever have time, maybe we'll enlist some aid. We want to upload every single document.
Oh, great.
Email.
Deposition. Yes, please post the depositions. We will watch every single one of them every second.
If you saw some of the shit that went down in these depositions with David Hughes, people are going to lose it. They're going to absolutely.
Oh, David Hughes.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're
please
going to lose
upload the depositions. Please
Oh,
open the YouTube
the
page
putting-
and just drop them.
Maya and the bikini incident. That
That was
was a
terrible.
really,
That's horrible.
I don't want
bad
to put that on the
one.
internet.
No, we
That
don't
was
want.
terrible.
Please, anybody out there, do not put that on the internet in any way, shape, or form. But there were so many weird things that went on in these depositions, including the infamous trail of poop incident I alluded to
All right,
before.
you know what?
And
If you don't name the name,
all right, I won't.
go ahead and tell the story, but don't name names.
Okay, I'll tell the story.
All right.
So we bet you, Megan, you didn't think this interview was going to go this way, did you?
I did not. No, I did not know we would be talking about dog poop.
And I'm going to have to save stuff for Rob too, because I promised at some point I'd give him an online interview too. So anyway,
The chat is so excited for a poop story. I can't even believe it. They're just
I wanted to tell Greg now.
This is just freaking awful, but of course it's so awful I'll tell it. So we're in
all right. Now, don't forget, don't say any names.
No,
we're not going to.
Okay.
So we're in the deposition of one of the doctors, and it wasn't really one of the major doctors, but it was a doctor that was significant enough so they had their brand new risk management coordinator. And if y'all recall, at the trial, there was a bunch of risk management people, and they all got eventually let go, or in any event, after their depositions, they were no more with the company. But there was one that came in and replaced them, and she was just mean as a snake to all of us. And so we're in, and they would insist on having all the depositions of the Johns Hopkins people at the Johns Hopkins office building. Okay, I'm going to out it. It's at 512 some freaking street in right next to the big multicolored buildings. So there, now everybody knows where it was. And so it's in this tiny room up on the third floor where they have, I don't know what they use it for. I think a broom closet usually, but so we're all crammed in this tiny room, and it's on video. So they put on this mobile fold away big screen behind this witness. All right. So these are kind of boring, and we're asking questions, but we're pretty much just kind of going through the motions. All right. So what happened then? Then you saw Maya do what? Okay. Then after Maya got finished wrestling the gorilla, where did the gorilla go? Okay. Well, and so they would go on like this. And so Brian Haskell, who's a very, very good lawyer and nothing like what we faced with the other crew, but he was, the poor devil was Sally Smith's attorney.
I went to law school with him.
Yeah, and Brian was always a gentleman, and
yeah, he was a good guy.
A good guy, and he was across from me, and so we're asking questions back and forth, and risk management ladies, like if you picture it, we're in this room with the camera to my right, shooting down a long table, about 8 chairs on either side, with this big screen on the back of it, and the witness in the chair, and then in a corner, like to my back left, unfortunately, right next to my trial bag, was the new risk management lady. And so it's a boring deposition. And after we find out that Maya successfully wrestled the gorilla to the ground and the gorilla left, Brian is asking a question. He just kind of stops for a moment, and he looks at me like, and I smell it too. And I go,
oh no,
I didn't do it. That's not me. Okay, it's not. And then he looked at me and goes, kind of like the guy tilted the head of, yeah, you did. You're the one that farted. All right. So no, I didn't. And so Hughes and the rest of the whatever they are is at the other end, they're oblivious to the whole thing. And the freaking the court reporter then goes, they don't pay me enough for this, and gets up in the middle of the record and hauls ass out of the room. And so I swear this is all. And so then to my left, new risk management lady gets up out of the blue and freaking hauls ass between the screen and the witness out of the room and down the hall and out. And we're in this room that smells like, the worst possible. I'm losing words, and for me, that's unusual. It smelled so bad. It smelled like somebody had crapped all over the entire room. And so I'm looking at Brian. He's looking at me, and I said, "It was you." No. And so we look back, and there's this trail of poop behind the witness screen.
No.
And on my frickin' briefcase, there's a trail of liquidized human substance. And so, of course, us being all investigative attorneys, we followed it out the door and through the ante room and down the hall to the ladies' bathroom.
Oh God! Did you call hazmat? Because
we found the perpetrator of the whole thing. So anyway,
not the briefcase. Oh God!
Well,
No, the worst part was the poor guy that was doing the videography.
Oh yeah,
He
videography.
just had a new screen.
That's right. It was this brand new screen, and it was
Yeah.
full of.
Oh no!
He was so upset.
And the doctor, I expected. Well, maybe it was the doctor was used to that. I don't know. He was perturbed by the fact that we had this stream of poop down. God damn.
All right, that's enough of the
Sorry,
poop story.
That's the poop story. We had to move. Never had another deposition in that room again.
Oh no! Oh my Lord! All right, this is too much to handle.
Sorry, I know this is supposed to be an erudite examination of this memo, but
oh, this is way more fun though. Poop stories are way more fun than reading a legal brief.
Story. You're the first
you got
one.
the poop story, but that's just one of many of the weirdnesses that went on this case.
Here, we need a palate cleanser after that, so we'll go back to locals for some.
This is great.
No, I drowned the phones. I mean, the hurricane drowned the phones.
No, I'm drowned. I gotta post this stuff. Nobody, none of your people are going. I can post all the public record stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, we need a website. You're not gonna believe this shit.com.
You're not gonna believe this shit.com. Buy it right now. Get that site. Oh my God. Oh my God, Greg.
Yeah,
that's the funniest thing ever. You're not gonna believe this shit.com. I love it. We need that.
I will never tell the poop story again. I apologize.
Stop saying poop story. We're done. We needed a palate cleanser, and now you're going back to the poop. Stop it.
No more poop stories. No more poop.
Lydia says John's drop kick kids. Verdict denies high quality care to kids with cancer, or in other words, they are more sick and more important kids they need to care for than the sick child they didn't care for. You know what? That bothered me too. That bothered me.
Yeah, it was bad news. And walking through during the, we had an inspection of the places where Maya was kept, and she was in 5 different rooms on 2 or 3 different floors. Jen?
Yeah, the ER, the PQ, 7th.
No, 7. So it would have been 3.
Yeah, 3.
So we're going through these rooms, and there's some really sick kids there, and my heart went out to them. I know all of ours did. That they were really, I just felt terrible about that aspect of the case, but then it was the dichotomy of this case that blew me away, which was I would feel so horrible about one of these kids, and then I would look at their door and the little identifier screen next to it where they could, between that and their door, that would be posted with all kinds of little mementos, photographs of parents, all these other things. Of course, a few Shopkins taped up there here and there, and they really were. And but they would have their names. The names would be like, and I don't know what the name was. I'll make up a name. It would be like Daisy, which wasn't a real name at all. But then it would be, with the eye as a heart, and they'd have done it up so that it was their own. It was their own. And then we went by some of the rooms, and I don't think this was on purpose or anything, but Maya would point out, she'd show us this room and she'd go, "Mine never had any of that." I said, "What do you mean, Maya? I never had a name." "What do you mean you never had a name?" "I never had a name." I said, "Well, how do they talk to you?" Nobody ever called me Maya outside the room. Sometimes they'd come in and talk to me, but I never had a name. I never had an identity. There were other kids that would play and they would be around, because we were a bunch of kids on the floor, but I never got to be a kid with any of the other kids there. So through the whole thing, I kept realizing what great work this hospital could do, but at the same time, I would look at what they did here and it would drive me berserk.
Yeah.
It was very, very difficult to get through a lot of that.
Hippo lover. Hippo lover. This might be juror number one's wife. Thank you for the super chat. Creature comfort is in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. That is, there it is. Oh, by the way, Hippo lover, if you're still there, I believe you were looking for my email address, and it's right here. Let me throw it up on the screen for you. If you would like to email me, I'm happy to talk to you or your husband or whoever, because, what has been done to you by the defense really sucks. So there it is, meganfox.writer@protonmail.com. You can email me there anytime, and I will talk to you. But thank you so much for that, finding creature comfort in the dictionary. Here for the Truth says, when is the robot defense scheduled for Depo? LOL. We get, check with Shapiro on that. Here for the Truth says, sorry, robot jury. Horace Welfare says, Mr. Anderson has been practicing as a lawyer for 40 years. Did alter Mr. Burns call him elderly too? How about all that stuff about Neuberger being so ancient? In fact, let me scroll down to Legal Vices. He left a super chat that I haven't even got to yet that was so funny. This one, still chuckling a bit at Altenburn calling Dr. Neuberger elderly and giving us the impression that he hadn't practiced in 1,000 years. They said he hadn't practiced this millennium. Like, that's so
exactly, Roman, or maybe Egyptian.
What did you think about all that stuff about his advanced age and all of that?
Oh, Eli is sharp as a tack. Unfortunately, Eli is he's got some serious health concerns. He's up at Boston's.
Don't tell too much about this.
Okay, I can't tell too much, but yeah, Eli's got some health issues, but the last time I talked to him, he's sharp as a tack. It was very, very poor judgment on their part to say anything about him. And if you saw his deposition, you'll see that the man really knows his stuff. And he was, and I think still is, pretty much the dean of he's written more and done more on child abuse issues than I think anybody in the country. And that's the reason we got him.
He was awesome to listen to. I would love to hear more of his deposition, actually, because I found him fascinating. So I really do think you need that website. You're not going to believe this shit.com. You really need to have that and put those depositions up there for us. Rosalind Duke says, appreciate you, Anderson, so much. And you too, Megan. Nothing but love and respect. We'll right back at you, Rosalind. Appreciate you being here. Claire says, Mr. Anderson, if Jay Hatch's law firm was monitoring the internet, how did they fail to read the room to such a catastrophic degree? Do they not understand that internet people are the jury? It's a good question.
Well, that it is. It's a superb question. There are lawyers out there who are, well, first let's get it straight. There are litigators and there are trial attorneys. And 99% of them that are out there and going to courtrooms, one form or another, are litigators. And there's very few trial attorneys. As a trial attorney, you make your living reading people and knowing the zeitgeist of the populace where you are. And if you can't recognize human reaction or understand how your community is, for lack of a better term, flowing, then you got no business being in that courtroom. You really don't.
I think that the defense spent too much time on that Reddit page that was stroking their ego, and also on the law and crime chat, because the law and crime chat and the court TV chats are really toxic places.
Yeah.
And those are places where you're going to find people who just love to play devil's advocate, or they just love to be troll. They love to troll. But the place where you're going to find what regular people think are going to be places like my channel, like Law and Lumber, like Runkle of the Bailey, Recovery Addict. That's where Nick Rekieta's show, like you're going to find people who are watching and have like this, I don't want to say hive mind, because that means that like we would all be programmed, but it's not that. We just see things differently than what the mainstream press wants us to see them. So for instance, if you're only watching Law and Court or Law and Crime or Court TV, you're only going to get their opinions on it. And we saw how hostile they were towards Maya and her family during this trial. So they sway their audience's positions. Most of us, though, people who cover trials in what they call LawTube, they don't do that. A lot of them will just show the trial, comment on it, what they think, but they show every moment of it. It's not truncated in any way, and it's certain, and everybody's allowed to have their say. I said from the beginning that I was not on the side of the hospital or the state, because I've had too much experience with this medical kidnapping stuff, and to me it looked exactly like the playbook that we saw. But there were other channels who were like right down the middle, like trying to be like, I don't know who's right, let's see. Those are the channels where you're going to find the most accurate jury kind of pool in the chats. Law and Crime, I think they spent too much time on Law and Crime and Court TV, to tell you the truth. MS Jules said, spill the tea. Well, that's been happening. Okay, Christina says, Greg, time clocks don't scare me, Anderson.
That's a big issue, wasn't it?
Totally. Scarlett said he has a Columbo vibe. My chat like totally nailed that in the first time you got up. At least one person in my chat was like, when we were all like, oh no, stop shuffling papers. She goes, I like this guy. He's like Columbo. I feel it coming. And I remembered that because it ended up being true. Brenda goes, Reddit already planning a deep dive on the Kushners. Well, I hope that they're not going to try and destroy them, because that's crappy. And I hate it that there are people on Reddit who dedicate their lives to making other people miserable. Roro says, can't wait till you get to where Shapiro drops F-bombs. Well, we got there. We got there. Manders, thanks for being a member, says, Mr. Anderson, you rolled the hard 6, not crossing Dr. Tepa Sanchez and won via the jury questions. Why did you choose to do it? And it was awesome, by the way. I agree with that.
All right. So the first thing is I was so upset at my performance with Beatty.
Yeah.
I knew that I was running out of steam, and I think it was Rob that had pointed out on Law and Lumber that at some point he's gonna burn through his reserves, and I was definitely
And maybe
there.
your wife said something.
Yes, and I have this person who pointed out, Greg, you idiot, let Nick do more. And so after that debacle, I learned something, and that was that as bad as the first part of my cross was, the jury rescued me. And I also had figured out that Judge Carroll would let the jury go farther, much farther than they ever would me in terms of cross-examination. So when Tepa Sanchez came up, I figured that it was unlikely, if I really went after her the way I wanted to, that I was going to get where I wanted to go, because I knew Judge Carroll, because she was sort of one of their main, if not their main, corporate witnesses. And I knew if I went after her hard that he was likely to he wouldn't let me get there to where I wanted to go. I knew the jury would get me there, though, because they were asking such incisive questions. So I just got up. I can't even remember if I asked any questions. Maybe.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
Yeah,
which was great. We were really thrilled about that. We were like, that's the move, because this jury is going to ask the questions they need that you wanted asked. They had the same questions we did. Let's just put it that way. We were all asking the same questions that came out in the jury. So, we just had faith that they would ask the right questions because they were paying attention. And
the judge would let them go. If you notice, the judge would let them go a lot farther than he would let me go. And Carroll, a couple times Judge Carroll, I caught his eye when I started to get into my game on cross. I caught his eye, and it's kind of this tilt of the head and a little lift of the eyebrow, like, no, I'm not going to let you tear this one up. You're going to. And I just knew that
he was going to stop you. Yeah. Well, and also the chat really wants me to show you my thug judge meme, because I have a feeling that on December 15th, when the hearing is going to happen on all of this. Well, this may happen again to the defense with Judge Carroll, because he doesn't seem to suffer fools, but they wanted me to show this to you.
I understand you're moving for a mistrial when you got additional time and you can call the same witnesses to address whatever issues. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Your Honor, because we don't. Okay.
Can we go to exhibits, please?
Is that not the greatest?
That's Thug Judge. And we had to bring, I love double guns. He's like, double gun, denied. When he gets mad, he brings out the double guns and he's like,
right.
Yeah, denied.
Right. And you notice when he takes his 5-minute breaks, right?
Careful.
Oh, the 5-minute breaks are unbelievable. He's great, though, when he does that, because frankly, I mean, that shows really good judicial temperament. He doesn't want to yell at anybody. He wants things to be, calm and collected. So that's the right thing to do. Leave the room and take your 5-minute break.
He did it beautifully. Yeah, anytime that he felt that he needed to take a second look at things, he would just say, "All right, time to take a break." And I really admired him for that.
We have to put the kids down.
We have children?
Okay.
Well, I appreciate you being here, Greg. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us. Thank you, Jennifer, for letting us have him for a while.
We'll be back. Thank you all, listeners. You all are wonderful, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Good night. All right, guys, we're going to get through these super chats because there are a lot of them to get through. And that was a fun surprise. I was not expecting Greg to be here, but he did. Let me get over to Rumble. Rumble says, Examoon TV sent a Rumble rant, says, I highly suggest checking out the Insane Clown Posse song titled To Catch a Predator. It's very based. It even features Chris Hansen. I will check that out. Atomic Ray sent a $5 Rumble rant, says, hello, Megan. I have a question for Mr. Anderson. In Maya's case, how long did it take to get all the evidence that was used in court? Hopefully next time around, he'll be able to answer that question. Jojo Perks says, thank you, Megan, Mr. Anderson in chat. And Crazy Warlock. I appreciate that, Jojo. And Slidey Pie says, Anderkin, the anti-Shopkin. Mandalore Wise 01 says, petition to get Anderson and Gosney on a joint stream to talk jury work. That would be an amazing stream. That would be interesting. Let's see. Matt Bond says, after 16 years with CRPS, going through the same drama as Maya, thank you, Greg, for speaking up and defending us, all of us chronic pain sufferers. Yes, I know that means a lot to you guys. Tay Marie says, as an LEO, I thought Anderson was mumble jumble until I realized he was leading a chess match. Mr. Anderson and crew, much respect to you all. God bless. Megan Easton says, thank you, Mr. Anderson and team, for taking care of Maya from a mama who was once so very close to being a Beata. Many blessings. Christina says, thank you for fighting the victims, Greg. Is there a connection between J Hatch and the two places they wanted to ship Maya to? That's a great question. I will keep that in the bank for the next time I talk to him because I had that same question. Austin Van Sleet says, with how long you represented the Kowalski family, do you guys, the lawyers, feel that this will be a long-time relationship? I can imagine. I know how these things are. Once you have a client like this, you'll know them for life. And I'm sure they will have a relationship that is long. And Enchiladas Unbreaded, haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Thanks for the super chat. Says, as a paralegal of 40 years, I'm very impressed by Attorney Anderson and his team. Well done. American Nana, I saw your video the other day. I thought it was really good. Thanks for making it. I thought it was fantastic. American Nana has a YouTube channel, and she made a video about this case and about how the 6 people at a bus stop might see it. It was interesting. Mr. Anderson, when can the Kowalskis have privacy to seek counseling so John's drop Shopkins gets no info, which is so wrong because they have control over her medically? I believe she can go now. Because any appeal is going to be about what happened during the trial, not what happens after the trial. It will have to be only trial specific. So she can go now anytime, I believe. Miss Jules Fee, I just want to thank you for the $50 super chat. Says, I just want to thank you for believing in Maya's family and taking this on. You're a wonderful human. Thanks, Megan, for this. Well, this has been a really important case to me, and the work that I have done covering, medical kidnappings and CPS corruption and basically just the stomping on of parental rights that we've seen in this country for so long. Dog Mom says, Greg and family, I'm an RN of 35 years and an NP for the last 15 years. You're my heroes. I pray the whole healthcare system in the U.S. listens to this outcome and change to be true patient family advocates. Yeah, me too. We can all hope. Legal Vices, thanks for the super chat, says, oh, law school. The guy whose study Carol was next to mine in the law library had a big sign on his desk, C equals JD. Oh, that's a good sign. Horse Welfare, thanks for the super chat, says, words cannot express my appreciation to Mr. Anderson, his associates, and his family for all of their hard work and all of the sacrifices that they have made to deliver justice to the Kowalski family. A med mal victim denied justice. I am so sorry. about that and about how hard it is in this country to bring a medical malpractice case. I wish it were easier. Midnight Muse says, Greg, how does a person become an expert witness? Well, I can't answer that for you, but hopefully next time he will be able to. Jessica Logalbo says, I'm a nurse manager, and for paying patients daily, I was dealing with a port that wouldn't give blood return. The family told me what to do and got the blood return they needed and wanted. Tell Maya she has changed my practice. Oh, that's sweet. I started this because it made me laugh so hard. Rob will need to file a protective order, or Hunter will try to send the bots out of state. Possible. JC says, are you going to read more of the document? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Rainman YYC, Q for Mr. Anderson. What's the source of the vitriol and zealotry from the defense? Defense team or client? I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to ask him that. We couldn't keep him all night. Law and Lumber says, NSU Law, little guys with chips on their shoulders. When will there be a ruling on sanctions motion? That's not actually going to be heard for a while, I don't think. I don't think the hearing has been set for that yet, but I will follow up on that and see if I can find out. Jason P. says, Mr. Anderson, you're an amazing attorney. Thank you for flambeing these people. Give the Kowalskis our love. Such eloquence. ML from Colorado. Will J. Hatch, Board of Directors, thank you, Becca, ever say enough, replace defense, and look to settle? Is this a dream? Yeah, probably. Because if they settle this one, maybe they're thinking they're going to have to settle all the others, and there's more coming behind it. Bree, did Anderson hear what Shapiro said to Jules? Thank you, Bree. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to ask him, but maybe next time, because he says he'll come back. Tara, thanks for the super chat, says, if I was creative, Judge Carroll would be the Gerber baby, all grown up meme. I appreciate you for all your hard work. And the Kowalskis, R.I.P. Beata. Let's see. M169, thanks to you, Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, for all you did. The memes are making my work night, dare I say it, palpable. Ariel says, please go to page 32, last line in first full paragraph. Okay. Coming up, doing it now. 32, page 32. There's 22, 31, 32, last line, first full paragraph. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is great. Let's just read the paragraph. The motion repeatedly invokes protection of the integrity of the judicial process or system to justify the relief it seeks. The cynicism of such statements is remarkable in light of the defense counsel's conduct at the end of the trial and after the verdict. To anyone watching the last day of trial, the disrespect toward the court's rulings and later at the verdict was palpable. The disrespect toward the court's rulings and later at the verdict was palpable. Oh, that one burns. Well, yeah, we are going to have to read the rest of this because obviously it's hilarious. So we'll do that in just a second. Jessica says, I'll help for free. Well, thank you for that. Here, Mathis, thanks for the super chat, says, in the novel, Dracula had to return after Eucharist wafers are put into boxes containing earth from his homeland. This case is life imitating art. Wow, that is weird. Is Dumpster Jesus also in Dracula? Because that would be really weird. Ellie Fant says, I was right. J. Hatch's image, it really is a poop emoji. That's so funny. I don't think I'm ever going to get over the poop story. Ginver says, how many TB needed for the files? Oh, I don't know. That's a good question. V. Tekasu says, I am sure everyone is aware Johns Hopkins is contracted to take care of military personnel as a second opinion and their families. No, actually, I wasn't aware of that, but that's interesting. Amber H. or Tara says Amber H. made the poop stories a thing. Her performance of a lifetime in as poor quality as her career was the very red wine soaked poop. And we all saw it. Yeah, we did. Unfortunately. Marcia, thanks for the super chat, says, I love Mr. Anderson's laugh and sense of humor. Yes, he's very funny. Fem Natal says, Greg Anderson for president. I would vote for him. John Gordon says, every time Anderson laughs, I lose it. I know, which is why I like showing him the memes. Jenny O says, it doesn't get better than this. So great. Here for the Truth says, note to self, punctuation matters. Yes, it does. Julio says, do you think the pandemic and loss of trust in medical community overall impacted the verdict? Hell yes, I do. I don't know what Greg would say to it, but I do. I know it has impacted the way I think about the medical community. I have a lot less trust in that system than I used to. I don't believe that they were very honest with us during the pandemic. And I think that is going to have reverberations for a really long time. And like Dr. Corcoran said, when I asked him that question, he said, once trust is lost, it's very hard to get it back. Frida Lee says, thank you both. All hospital surveys and reports are public. Well, the IJ, the actual original IJ, I don't think has been made public. It should be. Somebody needs to be the whistleblower and just leak that. Marianne, thanks for the super chat, says the J-Hatch EMR is epic. There's a treatment team report. I bet Dr. Smith would show up on it. Also, where was Miss Cruels on the last day? Jump ship? I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe she had an appointment. Cynthia says the attachments are pretty spicy, Megan. All right. Maybe we'll get there. We'll see. The only Latina, thanks for the super chat, says, love Anderson, love Jen even more. Her sisters also are amazing. I know Whitney is married. I still love him. When he crossed Dr. Dolan, she asked, can I explain a question? And he said, no, priceless. I loved that too. She's like, can I explain? He goes, no. Sarah Dawn, thanks for the super chat, says, Mr. Anderson, how did you feel when Shapiro kept chuckling throughout his closing and he started attacking the yacht father? Yes. You know what? I almost asked him that. I totally forgot about the chuckling, but we'll ask him next time about the scoffing. Chappers says, please let us know why you told Nick to go cry about it. Who? Wait, huh? Me? I don't think that was me. Oh, Chappers. Okay. Tara Rayner says, don't sell yourself short. You all have heart in this case. I'm sorry for your loss, and you still pushed for this family. Amazing character. And the last super chat. JPC says, Greg, have you seen the video Recovery Addict created that proves the unknown hand is Beatty's? Oh, I wonder. That's a great question. I'm going to ask him that next time. We'll show him the video if he hasn't seen it. Maybe I should just send it to him because he should see that, because that is nuts. Absolutely nuts. Okay, it wasn't the last super chat. Lydia Bell says, how ironic that this and the Depp v. Heard case had to track down clues of whodunit poos. Oh, boy. All right. Okay. Let me check the Cash App and the Venmo in case you guys had. I think somebody sent me a Venmo. It's taking forever to open. Why is it doing that? Okay. Venmo. In case you guys don't like sending tips through Google, you can send them on Venmo like Tara. Tara sent me a $5 Venmo that says Juror Misconduct by Proxy, LOL. That is hilarious, by the way. Absolutely hilarious and true. All right, let's read some more of this. Let's go back to where we left off. And those of you who are still here, we have 2,400 of you here, make sure that you hit that like button and take our poll. I dropped a like faster than John Shopkins drops kids. Ethan Shapiro drops palpable, and Howard Hunter dropped his soul. Boy, if I had written that before the poop story or after the poop story, that would have been different. All right, where did we leave off? I think we were still way at the beginning. All right. Dun, 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 dun. It was before this. I do want to hear about Deborah Salisbury. That should be interesting. Post-verdict comments. Yeah, okay, this is where we left off. Juror number one's post-verdict comments. Juror number one's post-verdict comments are immaterial to any consideration of alleged misconduct. I believe I said that. The court expressly told the jury that they were free to talk or not talk, to reveal their thoughts on the trial and their experience on the jury or not, based solely on each juror's discretion. The instruction to not talk about this case will be over, so you will be free to talk about this case or not talk about this case. It's going to be up to each of you whether you wish to preserve your privacy. The lawyers and their agents will not be able to approach you, but apparently they're allowed to stalk you on the internet, though. You, of course, may approach the attorneys, but again, that's going to be up to each of you. At this point in time, I'm going to give you the official discharge instruction. When that occurs, I'm going to have the court deputies escort you out of the building and take you to your cars. So thank you so very much for being with us. Members of the jury, on behalf of the parties, the attorneys, and the people in the state of Florida, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can be required to talk about the discussion that occurred in the jury room, except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We've recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about the jury's work. The lawyers and their representatives are not permitted to initiate any communication with you about the trial. So why are they allowed to investigate them and stalk them online? Why are they allowed to write motions defaming them about 20-year-old unproven allegations? They shouldn't be allowed to do that either. However, you may speak to the lawyers or anyone else about the trial. You also have the right to refuse to speak with anyone. A request may come from those who are simply curious or from those who might seek to find fault with you. It will be up to you to decide whether to preserve your privacy as a juror. At this point, this is the last time I'm going to say this, you do not have to talk about this case. You may talk about this case or not talk about this case. You may watch or not watch any news accounts, and you may approach or not approach anyone. So that includes LawTube. That includes Rob at Lawn Lumber. It includes me. It includes anybody they want to approach. So at this point in time, I'm discharging you with the court's thanks and the people of the state of Florida for your time and attention. If you could follow the court deputies, and then they left. Juror number 1 abided by his duty as a juror during trial, and the court already assessed juror number 1's alleged bias and prejudice against the defendant. Juror number 1's potential disqualification addressed on November 6, 2023. On November 6, 2023, this court heard defendant's motion to disqualify juror number 1, which was it was absurd. The court denied defendant's motion after a lengthy discussion on whether juror number 1 had displayed any sense of bias or prejudgment. The court unequivocally stated, "I have not seen anything in my mind that would remotely come to me to get to the conclusion that he has prejudiced anything in this case. On the contrary, I am warmed by the fact that he has, in his mind, gone through, or what I believe to be his mind, based on the questions he's asked and my observation. I mean, the guy sits, 5 yards from me. I've been watching him for more than 2 months. I mean, he's the closest juror to my physical vantage point and location, and I've been watching the guy. And I have not only do I not have a doubt, I don't have a reasonable doubt, but I have no doubt that this guy has not come up with any fixed or final opinion." Hang on a second. Mr. Fox is texting me. I need to text him back. Okay. Moving down, the court's observations are undergirded by one of juror number 1's questions toward the tail end of the defendant's case in chief. Juror number 1 asked Nurse Sylvia Ballwinger the following: "Your positive vibes are like a breath of fresh air. Did Maya ever mention to any staff that she was not too Did she ever mention any staff that she was not too keen on?" The court reiterated later that it had no concerns about bias of juror number 1. Juror number 1's juror questionnaire. Defendant alleges that juror number 1's juror questionnaire was incomplete, inaccurate, or otherwise deceitful. The single paragraph in the motion making this assertion, however, fails to proffer any verifiable facts. Number 1, Deborah Salisbury. Defendant's motion asserts that juror number 1 never disclosed on his juror questionnaire during voir dire that Deborah Salisbury Esquire was involved in juror number one's wife's 2007 domestic relations proceeding. Defendant, however, admits in footnote 11 that defense counsel does not know whether attorney Salisbury represented juror number one's wife in that matter, and defendant does not claim the referenced domestic relations proceeding involved juror number one. It did not. Nevertheless, defendant claims that Ms. Salisbury was definitively involved in juror number one's wife's domestic relations proceeding. Going further, the defendant alleges misconduct because juror number one never disclosed this fact. What fact? The juror questionnaire asked whether juror number one knew Deborah Salisbury, Esquire, not whether his wife knew her. The court should take judicial notice of a fact that apparently escapes defense counsel. Spouses can and do have different professional and social contacts and have separate lives before they marry. The paragraph in the motion addressing this Deborah Salisbury fact also does not establish that juror number one's wife even knows Miss Salisbury. Defendant draws no connection between what appears on the Sarasota court docket and any relationship between Miss Salisbury and juror number one's wife, which must first be established. Defendant offers nothing to show that juror number one has ever heard of Miss Salisbury. Importantly, Ms. Salisbury never testified in this case. Even if defendant's counsel had been able to draw concrete connections between Ms. Salisbury and juror number one's wife, and then from there demonstrated that juror number one also knew Ms. Salisbury based on Ms. Salisbury's alleged encounter with his wife some 16 years ago, the court and the parties would be left with a quandary. What quandary is such a good word? What possible difference would any of this make in a case where Ms. Salisbury did not testify and her name was excised from any written communications to avoid injecting Chapter 39 and dependency court issues into the trial? It's a very good point. As the court is well aware, the juror questionnaires provided in Voir were thorough, specific, and drafted with the intent to weed out any potential conflict. Juror number one's juror questionnaire indicates his honesty. He clearly indicated his law enforcement background and checked yes to criminal history for either himself or an immediate family member. Juror number one's wife's alleged professional encounter with Miss Salisbury is a red herring and wholly irrelevant to jury number one's ability to assess this case as a juror. Number two, Take Care of Maya documentary. Defendant makes an unsupported logical leap. And I love the way this is written. This is written really well. It is written far better than the defense's motion. It's just easier to understand. It's logical. It moves from point to point very quickly. And despite what Greg and Jennifer said about it being boring, I actually think this is a far better read, frankly. Defendant makes an unsupported logical leap in alleging that, despite juror number one denying in his juror questionnaire that he had seen the Take Care of Maya documentary on Netflix, and further denying having any conversations or overhearing any conversations concerning Take Care of Maya, that this seems unlikely. That is it. This seems unlikely. That is the extent of the defendant's proffer to dispute juror number one's answers to the Take Care of Maya questions on the juror questionnaire. This is so good. There are no facts offered to create a credible dispute over juror number one's answers to those questions. This is what I brought up. This is what I said. I said this exact same thing. They're offering no evidence. It's just speculation. The rest of the direct attack on juror number one is conjecture based on juror number one's wife's so-called heavy engagement, investment, and close monitoring of the case, the court docket, and her following social media of the movie producers for the documentary. These hyperbolic, inflammatory, and imprecise allegations against juror number one's wife are addressed further below. Defendant has not demonstrated that juror number one failed to disclose any facts on his juror questionnaire. Yeah, Mindy, do you see how well this is written? It's much easier to understand, Mindy says. The defense's motions talk in circles. Yeah, we had to reread their sentences multiple times because they just, it's not set out as well as this one. Juror number one's wife allegedly improper actions. Each and every time the following questions questions were asked by the court countless times during the trial, juror number 1 and the rest of the jurors always answered in the affirmative. And that was when the judge said, have you talked to anyone? You did not discuss this case, blah, blah, blah. I want to confirm. And they would all say, we have not. Nonetheless, and without any evidence that juror number 1's affirmative answers to these questions were untrue, defendant launched into unsupported theories about juror number 1's wife's influence over juror number 1's view of the evidence in the case during the trial. Those of you who are still watching here, by the way, make sure you get over to meganfox.locals.com and follow me over there. That's where you will find all of my notifications for when I'm going live and which exciting guest I'll have on next. You never know. I didn't even know I was going to be talking to Greg until a few minutes before the stream tonight. So that was fun. And if you want to know about it first, you need to get over to meganfox.locals.com and follow me over there. If you want to use promo code Maya to subscribe, you can get a free month on me. However, it is free to follow me there and get notifications. That is all free. All right. Nonetheless, or I already read that. Plaintiff observes that defendant's position that one spouse's knowledge or action should be attributed to the other means that the defendant's arguments are unpreserved, as discussed above. The extensive online involvement of lead defense counsel's wife, discussed below. Oh, here comes the tea. Oh, my Lord. Leads to the conclusion that the defense knew all this conduct before the jury retired. The failure to timely raise it was a waiver. Wow. Yeah, their whole argument falls apart in the first part of this motion. Rob's right. The failure to disclose when they found out about all of this so-called improper conduct went away. Their chance went away when they didn't bring it up in a timely manner. Juror number 1's wife's social media and internet involvement. Juror number 1's wife's comment regarding juror number 1's expected questions to Detective Graham. Defendant alleges that juror number 1 wife's social media involvement indicates that she had conversations with juror number 1 about this case. I also would like to point out that I appreciate that the plaintiff did not use the jurors' names, the juror or his wife's names in this. I thought it was really low of the defense to continue to repeat their names over and over again, especially in the manner that they were doing it. Yeah. Defendant alleges that her social media involvement indicates that she had conversations with juror number 1 about this case. Defendant points specifically to juror number 1's wife's comment on a YouTube stream. The juror LEO will be asking questions. Essentially, defendant contends that the only explanation for juror number 1's wife's comment is impropriety. However, and as this court has pointed out, given juror number 1's background as a law enforcement officer, we could have expected he was going to ask tough questions, sharp cross-examination type questions. And I like that they quoted the judge. So, is the judge improperly informed? Did juror number 1's wife tell the judge that the LEO officer was going to ask sharp, pointed questions? Has she been whispering in the judge's ear too? Or is it just common sense that a former LEO is going to ask some good questions? This court also pointed out that 9 weeks into this trial, I can tell you without any sort of certainty that juror number 1 has been testing the evidence in this case, every single witness. Well, I don't think he asked a question today, but I think he asked a question on almost every single question that wasn't by deposition. What is this footnote? This is a big footnote. Defendant's suggested remedy of depositions and interviews of juror number 1 and his spouse also fails to account for Florida Statute 90.504, Florida spousal privilege. We brought this up, but I didn't know if it was relevant in civil court. So this is interesting. Juror number 1 and his wife have an absolute privilege to refuse to disclose their communications. That's what I thought. I thought that, but I didn't know that they could do this in civil court too. That's unbelievable. Notably, juror number 1's wife has the right to prevent juror number 1 from disclosing his communications if they existed and if he was inclined to disclose them. Defendant filed the instant motion on the public docket and made no effort to keep the identities and social media aliases of juror number 1 and his wife out of the public eye. Yeah. This has led to the predictable result: direct attacks on juror number 1 and his wife. For example, on a post that says, "Hey, rabid Redditors, hope you all have a nice holiday. How is everyone planning to spend that money we are getting paid by the defense to post on here? Dr. Quack Patrick has a sale. Buy 1 ketamine infusion, get propofol and Deledid, I don't know how to say that, for free. Note to juror number 1, bless your heart," one Redditor responded. "I think I'll buy some nice gold necklaces, purple attire, cheese wig, hungry hippos." One Redditor posted a photograph of juror number 1's wife, and in response, another Redditor stated, "I think it's her. She has a very distinctive nose." Soon after, another photograph was posted of juror number 1 and his wife, and a comment in response reads, "Hippo shirts," with 3 skull emojis. A Redditor posted one of the juror number 1's juror questions to Dr. Levy, and in response, another Redditor commented, "Well, I definitely believe that juror number 1 knows where to get crack. See Exhibit A." This court went further to say, and I go back to this as a person with a law enforcement background, and he's, in my mind, taking what is sharply conflicting evidence that both sides have skillfully and artfully put forward to this jury, and he's trying to make sense of it. After 1 week of trial testimony and hearing the jurors' questions to witnesses, it became evident that juror number 1 was going to ask a lot of questions. He consistently asked questions throughout both plaintiffs' and defendants' cases in chief. The notion that juror number 1's wife had improper communications with juror number 1 ahead of him asking questions to Detective Graham is meritless speculation. The court knew he would ask questions. Plaintiff expected it. Perhaps defendant's counsel was surprised by his questions, or more likely failed to appreciate that Detective Graham's abrasive nature and aggressive interrogation of Jack Kowalski would backfire. Juror number 1's wife's comment regarding the jury's deliberation note. Defendant's motion alleges that juror number 1's wife comment about the jury's deliberation note was a result of inside information that she could have only obtained from her husband, juror number 1. The comment reads, "I think the note yesterday was frustrated jury that cannot reach a money agreement and it will take days." Plaintiff's counsel had the same observation. It was evident that the jury was frustrated, as indicated by their second note that read, "Y'all, we have not been able to locate any of the calculations about future amounts. Witness Kirby was on Zoom and Whitney mentioned them today, and it was said that we'd have all this at deliberation. Well, if we do not have it, we ain't found it in all, if we do, we ain't found it in all these files. So without these witness figures, you'll be lucky if there's enough awarded to pay your gas to drive to court, or we'll be here till next Friday." More importantly, juror number 1's wife's sentiment that the jury was frustrated matched the overwhelming sentiment of the social media commenters and public followers of the trial. Thank you. Yes. Thousands of comments were posted to this effect. Below are some examples. Jurors are angry. I think the jury know the verdict by now, but they have to put the numbers together because it was put in. Let's see. Oh my gosh, the grammar. That's funny. Seems jurors want this to be done and they can't agree because they're missing info. Jury is trolling them. Jury is like, where is the evidence? Jury wants to go home. How are the instructions going to keep them another day? I think they'll be seriously annoyed. They clearly do have a verdict. Yeah, everybody thought the same thing. So there's just more of that. Lots more of that. Tons of that. Juror number 1's wife needed no inside information to interpret this note. The jury told the court that they were frustrated over the numerical values that they could not find. Juror number 1's wife comment regarding the jury not liking Catherine Beatty. Defendant also alleges that this is going to be funny. Nobody liked Kathy Beatty. Literally no one. Had inside information from her husband based on her YouTube comment stating the jury, did not like Kathy Beatty or any of the witnesses defendant presented at trial the day prior. Defendant ignores the most rational explanation for the comment. Juror number 1's wife was present in the courtroom on the day that Ms. Beatty testified and could see and assess the jury members' reactions to Ms. Beatty's non-credible testimony, as well as other witnesses' testimony that day. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Law and Lumber, you did say it, and so did I. So are we leaking info to the jury now? Yeah, good question. Because we said the same thing. It was like, well, they're just deciding how many zeros to put on the check. I mean, everyone got the same opinion of what happened here. And by the way, let's once again take a look at the witnesses that were on the stand. Were these likable people? Were any of these people likable people on the stand? My God, no. We all hated them. And I imagine the jury did too. So just saying. Juror number one's wife's other social media. Defendant highlights multiple other social media comments made by juror number one's wife and focuses on her activity during live stream coverage of the trial on the Law and Lumber, Recovery Addict, and Lawyer You Know YouTube channels. Oh, you know what? I think MG Law said he was available after 9:30. I'm sending him the link if he wants to pop in here with me since I'm MG, are you in the chat still? I'm going to send it to you on Twitter. Let's see. Where is my, here, I'll just send it to everybody. Here you go, guys. You want to join me for the rest of this motion? All right. There we go. Now everybody has it. All right. Just in case anybody is available and you want to come in here and read this with me, you are welcome. All right. Let's see. Where was I? Okay, defendant highlights multiple other social media comments made by juror number one's wife and focuses on her activity during live stream coverage of the trial on Law and Lumber, Recovery Addict, and Lawyer You Know YouTube channels. Oh dear God, gasp. She's watching LawTube. Defendant states on a near daily basis, juror number one's wife spent hours online engaged in commentary about the trial proceeding. We know, folks, we're not proud of it either. That's what the rest of us were doing as well. We're all trying to recover. We're trying to recover our lives, both in real time and after the trial day had ended and the jury was sent home, including her husband, juror number one, with whom she resided. The online presence of juror number one's wife undermines defendant's main premise that she must have discussed the trial with her husband because she was active online. She had ample opportunity to learn that way about what was going on in the trial. Instead of from her husband. Despite the large amount of time juror number one's wife apparently devoted to online commentary about the trial, defendant cannot produce a single post indicating a discussion with her husband regarding the case at any point during the trial. And you know what else they did? They also, in their motion, the defense provided a post from juror number one that said, it's going to take a while to catch up. So I can't respond right now because I'm trying to catch up on all the stuff I missed, which to me was evidence that he didn't watch any of it. All right, let's see. In each instance and for each and every social media post by juror number one's wife, defense counsel ignores the common sense explanation. As an example, to explain juror number one's wife's comments reflecting concern over plaintiff's remaining time, cognizant of the 55-hour limit. Defendant asked this rhetorical question, but why was juror number one's wife of the opinion that plaintiffs were running out of time if she wasn't discussing the case with her husband? I don't know, maybe because we all were discussing it? The rhetorical question is easily answered. Anyone with even a casual interest in the trial heard the court repeatedly caution plaintiff's counsel about the remaining time. Yeah, duh. The remaining time on the shot clock was announced at the end of each trial day. Defendant's suggestion that juror number one had a unique perspective on the shot clock, which he must have shared with his wife, is absurd. In fact, the jury probably had the worst perspective on the issue since the shot clock announcements were made outside of the jury's presence. Right. Did the jury even know about that? Yeah, thank you, Jules. Yeah, it came up in court constantly. Constantly. Finally, juror number 1's wife posted comment, "I think you are right," was in response to another post from an observer known as T-Bex. I love that these names, your internet names are in these motions. T-Bex. Ma'am, being so combative makes it look like you care more about the narrative than about just giving honest testimony. Anderson should just sit down. The jury will ask good questions for him. This lady is acting like her job is at stake. Makes me wonder what management has said to her. Juror number 1's wife monitoring the court docket. Defendant next argues that juror number 1's wife's posts reflect that she was even monitoring the court's docket and reviewing court filings. Oh, you mean like the rest of us? Like everyone else watching this trial? This ignores that many of the YouTube channels and personalities mentioned on the previous page of defendant's motion and above regularly notified their audiences of recent filings by the parties. Yep. And even read and analyzed the motions live on YouTube with thousands of trial watchers tuning in. That's what we do. Juror number 1's wife most likely obtained her knowledge of and comments on recent filings from these YouTube channels. Yeah, duh. But even if she were accessing the court's docket directly, she had every right to do so as a member of the public. Yup, that is correct. I'm just laughing at at my peeps. Yeah, of course you're the side chicks. Get in here. You're my side chicks. Get in here. Come on, Flux. Be my side chick. Juror okay, I got that. Juror number 1's wife's presence in the courtroom. At no point was the jury instructed that their spouses were prohibited from observing in the trial, either online or in person. All members of the public were welcome to attend, whether they had relationships with the jurors, witnesses, lawyers, or parties. In fact, Mr. Shapiro's wife and children attended the trial on many days. Oh, so those were his kids. You guys knew it. Family members of Dr. Jenny Dolan and Dr. Teppa, I always call her Dr. Peppa, Dr. Teppa Sanchez also attended trial. A juror's wife attending one day of the trial does not violate any law or rule, oath, and certainly does not indicate juror misconduct. Nope. Oh, here we come. Here we come. The notorious Jules. Notorious. All right, Jules, here we go. Jules, a member of the viewing public's supposedly improper actions. Defendants focus on Jules, a member of the public who relayed her observations via social media and through various YouTube legal commenters throughout the trial, has no bearing on juror number 1's conduct or plaintiff's counsel's actions in the courtroom. The de facto agent allegation. The allegation that Jules was a de facto agent of plaintiff or plaintiff's counsel is preposterous. Jules played no role in the plaintiff's trial strategy or decision-making, and her opinions were hers and hers alone. See declaration of Greg Anderson attached as Exhibit B. Yeah, that was easy to describe. I mean, the whole thing was dumb. Jack Kowalski allegedly smiling and nodding at Jules after Judge Carroll denied defendant's disqualification motion. The video that defendant cites shows Mr. Kowalski raising his eyebrows and turning to the gallery. There is no footage or any indication that Mr. Kowalski is looking at Jules. In fact, Jules's head is down when the camera pans to her. One of the plaintiff's expert witnesses, Dr. Scott Richards, was seated next to Jules, and Mr. Kowalski was looking at him as the two discussed the trial throughout. So they couldn't even get that right. Internet social media activity. Despite the absence of any demonstrated connection of this pre-verdict social media activity to juror number 1, the motion complains that specifically the entire internet community was made aware of the heavy bias in plaintiff's favor on the part of a juror's wife, plainly compromising the integrity of the jury process. Leaving aside the question of how the defense was able to discern this information, what the entire internet community was aware of or thought, does not constitute misconduct by juror number 1. Yeah, that's funny. Moreover, defendant is hardly in a position to complain about internet and social media activity during trial by third-party observers, as demonstrated by the defendant's own robust internet activity during trial. As shown in the screenshots attached hereto as Exhibit D, defense counsel Shapiro and other members of the defense team were receiving substantial ongoing feedback and support from the internet community throughout the trial. In a November 11th, 2023 message, Attorney Shapiro communicated that, hey, I want to thank you and everyone else who is sleuthing this so carefully and meticulously. I have gone through the Reddit thread on juror number 1 with almost 1,000 comments. Everyone on the defense team is monitoring this closely. If anyone in the community has comments to make, you can feel free to keep posting there because we are going to read all of it and put it towards emotion. The motion. I agree that the idea the wife knew when a verdict was coming. Oh, I should have done this in Shapiro voice. I agree that the idea the wife knew when a verdict was coming and what they were arguing about is shocking, and I hope the judge will feel the same way. Emphasis added. Also omitted from the motion is any mention of the active involvement of Attorney Shapiro's wife, Kisa, in a social media chat group during trial. As shown in the appendix below, Kisa Shapiro, undoubtedly an agent for defendant, participated in the chat group by advocating defendant's trial positions. Just as Jules, whom defendant erroneously claims was an agent for the plaintiff, advocated positions favorable to the plaintiff. Given defendant's position that the wife's knowledge should be imputed to the husband, Mr. Shapiro is deemed aware of all Kisa Shapiro's posts during the trial by not objecting before the verdict has failed to preserve this entire issue. None of this internet activity is relevant to the relief sought in the motion without some objective act committed by or in the presence of the jury or the juror. All right, and those of you who are watching, make sure you hit that like button. What are we up to? We're up to... I can't see. My screen's too small. Hey, wow. 21,000 views. I'm sorry, 2,100 views and 2,100 likes. I've never seen that happen before. Great job. I have nothing to shame you for. I'm just going to say thank you. That's awesome. Any mention of the jazz hands? Not yet. Not yet. We have not seen jazz hands yet. Oh, Jules. Jules says, did I sit a few feet from the wife? Yes, I spoke to her. She did not reveal herself. When my friend got there, I moved to sit with my seatmate, as I always did. Okay, let's see. Let's get to some super chats. Miss Jules FL says, this is important. Pandemic didn't really affect kids. RSV this year is killing them. Now a vaccine for adults. You know, RSV really is becoming a problem for the kids. I know several people whose kids have it and are having a really difficult time with it right now. So, yes, please protect the kids from RSV. I'm not sure how you do that. I don't know how to not get it, but it's a virus like any other virus. So keep washing your hands and get a lot of vitamin D, I would say. And that's not medical advice. That's just what I would do. Jason P, thanks for the super chat, says, F anybody and everybody associated with Johns Hopkins. Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Unhung Hero says, what is the most palpable part of this response? I think it was that when they used the word palpable snarkily. That was funny. Okay. Yeah, pump up the vitamin C, everybody. All right, moving on. And if you like this channel and you like the kind of interviews that I do here, make sure that you subscribe before you get out of here tonight. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We are headed towards 25,000 subscribers, and that's really exciting. The number's been going up and up every day, and that's a lot of fun. So if you're enjoying this show, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the alarms. Hit that little bell to get notified, which YouTube really never does. You really have to follow me at Locals to get the notifications. Let's just be honest. MeganFox.locals.com, that's the place to be. Okay. None of this internet activity is relevant. Okay, the relief letter C, the relief requested in the motion cannot be based on post-verdict statements by juror number 1. The motion also relies on statements by juror number 1 after the verdict. I said that was ridiculous. I said that was a really stupid thing to do because he's allowed to say whatever he wants after the trial. So, duh. The motion also, on discharging the jury, the court instructed the jurors they were at liberty to comment, blah, blah, blah. Yes, we know that. The lawyers, yep, we read that. It is certainly true that following the verdict, juror number 1 made known his decision to support the verdict for plaintiff. There is nothing improper that in our civil justice system. Indeed, all the jurors made their individual decisions public when they were polled after the verdict was read. They all took the plaintiff's side. Every one of them. Every single one of them. Jules says they're hung up on me because I posted the settlement offers that Shapiro offered in July that he publicly denied. Oh, you mean the ones that they went on TV and said they didn't offer? Yeah. Yeah. Locals is where the best memes happen. That's true. That's true. Moreover, juror number 1's ultimate decision to support a verdict in favor of plaintiff cannot be considered as evidence that he made the decision through misconduct. The evidence properly admitted in this trial provided an ample basis for the jury to decide against the defendant. Yep, sure did. In fact, there's so much evidence against the defendant in this case, that even Kurt over at Uncivil Law, who was so pro-hospital, today did a 6-hour live stream and got schooled in what the facts actually were. And he was like changing his mind every 5 minutes, like, well, yeah, you're making it really hard for me to be on your side, Johns Hopkins. It was actually hilarious. It was hilarious watching Kurt finally catch up to the facts of the case. And Kurt, you might want to watch a trial before commenting on whether or not the jury got it right next time. Just saying. Just saying. I'm waiting any day now. I'm waiting for my apology. I was trying to give you the facts of the case, but you didn't want to hear it. But now that you know the facts of the case, you're starting to come around to the right side. I will wait your apology. All right. I'll be waiting forever. Where were we? For example, near the end of the trial, the jury heard evidence from which it could very reasonably conclude that the defendant had deliberately attempted to mislead it and the court about the defendant's accreditation status. Yeah. If defendant is searching for a reason for juror number 1's decision to support plaintiff in the verdict, it need look no further than its conduct and the conduct of its counsel during trial. Yep. Sorry, I'm just catching up on your chats. The discovery requested in the motion, including a deposition of juror number 1, should be denied. In addition to the defendant's failure to provide sufficient prima facie evidence of misconduct by juror number 1, there is further compelling reason for the court to deny subjecting juror number 1 or his wife to discovery from defendant. The motion repeatedly invokes protection of the integrity of the judicial process or system to justify the relief it seeks. The cynicism of such statements is remarkable in light of defense counsel's conduct at the end of the trial and after the verdict. To anyone watching the last day of trial, the disrespect towards the court's rulings and later at the verdict was palpable. Oh man, that's so awesome. I should start using my dinghy noise every time we hear palpable. I should have started using a counter. I have a counter on my my stream deck. Every time we hear it, I should hit the button. After the court reiterated it was giving alternative verdict form questions to try to avoid the necessity of a retrial, defense counsel said, "You don't know what the law is, so you're going to give the jury both options right now? Is that what you're going to do? I'm sorry, I object to that." I remember that. Remember that? That was something. The court, Judge Carroll said, I'm just saying, Mr. Hunter, it seems what you're saying and what I'm hearing do not match. And Mr. Hunter said, and what I was also saying, Your Honor, was that you're only hearing seconds long clips. You're not hearing the whole thing. You're not hearing the entire value. And it doesn't sound like you're prepared to listen to the whole matter. I'm going to read, let's see. Let's read the footnote. All the defendants' counsel were present for the multi-day jury selection process and should be well aware of the extraordinary efforts undertaken by this court to protect the jurors' identities. Rather than honor the court's efforts to protect jurors from exposure and public ridicule, defendants' counsel have encouraged that conduct. Yep, they sure have. In footnote 1 of defendant's motion, defendant exposed juror number 1's personal information and released his full name and physical address, thus inviting harassment, with full knowledge of the potential damage to juror number 1 and his spouse. Defendant made no effort to comply with Florida R Civil Code, I guess this is 1.431, by filing the motion or the identifying information confidentially or under seal. Yeah. I said that same thing. I didn't understand why they didn't seal it. However, like Jeff and I said when we read it, the juror and his wife did publicly out themselves on Facebook, so their names were out there. But for them to also have published their address and like all this personal stuff about them was really wrong. The court responded, whoa, time out, because that's a very serious statement you just made. Do you really think I'm not making balls and strikes calls? I've just eliminated a couple of items from their exhibits, and I'm listening to your statement. So I just want to make sure. Are you saying that I'm closed-minded in this case? Mr. Hunter, Judge, I'm suggesting that on this particular issue, you have indicated a predilection regarding the Heart Institute issue, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get past, and that's my problem with it. And on these particular clips, what you're also seeing once again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but you've just listened. This is a town hall meeting that went on for some period of time. I don't know how long it was. They've got a whole clip of it, okay? A whole clip of it, and I haven't seen, and frankly don't, to this moment, know the entire source of. But you're reacting, and visibly reacting to clips from that thing that are seconds long. You're not hearing the whole story, and that's my problem with it, Judge. Defense counsel Shapiro made the same false claims to the media and the public, stating in a media interview just outside the courthouse on November 1 that the hospital is credentialed by outside agencies that have found that the hospital has always operated under safe environments. Also, as described by the declarations attached here too, and as exhibits F and G, defense counsel Shapiro made repeated vulgar remarks while exiting the courtroom in a voice loud enough for everyone present to hear. Specifically, Attorney Shapiro said fucking ridiculous and fucking scumbag family. Attorney Shapiro continued uttering similar expletives and derogatory comments as he walked down the hallway where members of the public and the media gathered throughout the trial. Defense counsel's contempt for the jury is also demonstrated by a social media message from another member of the defense trial team and a member of their law firm to Attorney Shapiro, which included a slur on the jury members as 6 people from a bus stop. This would be Fat Clark Kent. Thank you for your continued help. Next time I'm redacted, I owe you one. If your other colleagues have insights, please pass along, specifically on the social media side. At this point, the medical arguments have already been made, and yes, a very important case. We'll never stop fighting for you guys. I'm ashamed at the outcome, especially after so many years, but you never know what 6 people from a bus stop can do. Wow. Wow, Fat Clark Kent. Wow. I mean, that's really something. All right, let's see. Nothing would be more deleterious to the integrity of the judicial process than to subject people who have done their jury service to a deposition or an interview by lawyers capable of such behavior. I love this sentence. This is a great sentence. There can be little doubt that a deposition or interview would be used to further vent defense counsel's frustration and anger on display in the last day of trial. Finally, in regard to the request for emergency relief, regarding text messages and other electronic communications of juror number 1 and his spouse, the sole justification offered is the unsubstantiated statement in the motion that defendant has learned that individuals associated with juror number 1 and his wife have begun deleting social media posts. Such statements should be given no weight without further detail and an identification of the source. And also, if you had posted some stuff on social media and all of a sudden your name is in the news and some snaky defense attorney is defaming you in legal motions, might you delete some stuff because you'd be afraid of the backlash? I don't think that it means anything if indeed that happened, but it's not like the defense has shown us any indication that it happened. Hang on a second. All right. Defendant supplement motion for new trial based on juror misconduct. Motion for juror interview, motion to open discovery into evidence of juror misconduct, and emergency motion to preserve evidence. Plaintiffs are aware that at 11:54 a.m. on November 27, 2023, defendant filed a supplement to its motion, bringing in extraneous issues in an attempt to slander juror number 1 further. Plaintiffs do not believe the supplement merits a response, but if the court disagrees, plaintiffs request an extended deadline. The supplemental motion rests on speculation from a matter over 20 years old, affirming denial of a new trial based on legal experience 17 years before the case. Additionally, defendant's supplement asserts that it is reasonable to assume that juror number 1 may have harbored ill feelings towards the DCF or, at a minimum, an allegiance in favor of a party accused of suspected child abuse, like the late Maya Kowalski. The prospective juror questionnaire utilized in the case included the following questions. Have you or any of your close friends or family members had a child sheltered in protective custody by any government agency, such as the Florida Department of Children and Families, DCF? And do you hold any strong opinions concerning the Florida Department of Children and Families or its ability to take children into protective custody? Juror number 1 answered no to both questions. It is not reasonable to assume juror number 1 had feelings the defense speculates about when juror number 1 answered no to having any strong opinions concerning DCF. Furthermore, the defendant asked no questions of this witness about any experience with DCF. See Exhibit H. It was love at first sight for defense counsel and juror number 1. Because they liked him and they chose him. That's so funny. That's so funny. Oh. As shown above, the post-trial allegations are irrelevant and defendant is in no position to complain about impropriety. So, affirming denial of motion to remove juror... Oh, no, sorry, that was not so. That was part of the... I'm getting tired. Affirming denial of motion to remove juror for misconduct based on movant's claim of the appearance of impropriety. As shown above, the post-trial allegations are irrelevant, and defendant is in no position to complain about impropriety. Wherefore, plaintiffs Jack Kowalski individually and on behalf of his child, Maya Kowalski, a minor, and as a personal representative of the estate of Beata Kowalski, deceased, respectfully request that this court deny all relief requested in the motion. All right, and these are the exhibits, which I don't have time to go over right now. Maybe we can go over them tomorrow. What's Exhibit A? Oh, this would be some of the stuff that the Shapiro's post. God, did they call them rabid Redditors? Hey, rabid Redditors? Jeez. All right, I don't want to do that. Okay, let's see. What's this? Declaration of Greg Anderson. Declare under penalty of perjury. I was lead trial counsel in this case, made all command decisions as to strategy, tactics, scope of questioning, choice of jurors, questioning, and every other aspect. My partner, Nick Whitney, assisted on a number of the decisions, but the ultimate decision on all of these was mine. I have read the defendant's motion regarding juror number 1 and the attached affidavit and exhibits by Mr. Shapiro. At no time did I have, nor have I ever had, any conversations directly or indirectly with juror number 1, even up to the moment of this declaration. I have neither met with him, nor have I received information about or to him, at least until the filing of the defendant's motion. In fact, of all the jurors, I had the least eye contact with juror number 1 during the trial. At no time did anything that he did or did not do have an effect on my overall trial strategy, with the exception of a decision as to whether or not to keep him, as opposed to bringing in the first alternate juror near the end of the trial. When the defense filed a motion to disqualify juror number 1, I confirmed that the first alternate was the gentleman seated third from the right with a gray goatee who appeared to be older and generally smiled at everyone coming in and leaving the jury box. That included the bailiff, the court, and both sets of counsel. Throughout the trial, as is my typical practice, I closely monitored the questions submitted by juror number 1, and those questions I could discern from the first alternate. My purpose in doing so was to gauge the jurors' reactions to try to discern what questions or reservations remained in the jurors' minds that needed to be satisfied in order for us to prevail. Every experienced trial attorney does this. The questions from my review and memory of their context from juror number 1 were incisive and straight to the point, as one would expect from someone with a background in law enforcement. As the court pointed out, all counsel knew if juror number 1's law enforcement background, knew of his law enforcement background from the voir dire process. Questions from the first alternate tended to be favorable to our case. Moreover, his body language when considering our witnesses versus those of the defense appeared more positive, at least from my experience. Thus, I concluded that the first alternate was more of a sure thing in terms of completing a jury that would ultimately decide in our favor. Juror number 1, on the other hand, was a wild card. His questions of our witnesses at the start of the case were explorative and at times aggressive, poking holes in our theories and arguments. I had deep concerns over his reactions to our case. However, I was heartened by his questions to the defense, which were equally probing. My decision was that either would probably do well, but I did not have a strong read on juror number 1. When it became clear I had a choice to make, it took me at least 15 minutes to draw the conclusion that I should probably go with the sure thing, i.e. the first alternate, but then, standing at the lectern with the ultimate decision hanging in the balance, I realized I had not spoken to the most important person there, which was my client, Jack Kowalski. Yeah, Shiraz says, wait, I got the wrong one up there. This is such a well-reasoned, insane response. Yeah, we're not used to that. We're not used to that in this case. I learned that Jack and Dr. Scott Richards, our expert psychiatrist, appeared to have a different assessment. And when I consulted with Jack, although I cannot reveal privileged conversations, it became clear that Jack had weighed juror number 1's and the first alternate's body language and questions to the witnesses differently than I had. These factors were on my mind as I approached the lectern and ultimately decided to oppose the defense's challenge to juror number 1 and awaiting the court's ruling. In no way did I agree with the defendant's allegations against juror number 1. My decision was purely tactical. The record reveals that the basis for removing juror number 1 was thin, to say the least. Only my joining in it would allow it to happen, and the court noted this. Defense counsel noted this as well, at least by virtue of their reaction to my even considering it. I knew that this choice was ours alone to make. At no time did I draw any conclusions about juror number 1 being anything more than he appeared to be, a very intelligent, former law enforcement officer who asked cogent questions and would give both sides a fair shot. Fortunately, the jury sided with us, but I remain confident that the first alternate juror would have contributed to a similar result of juror number 1 had he been relegated to alternate status. As to the public observer known as Jules, I do not recall having a substantive conversation with her at any time over the 8-week trial. Then, during the jury's deliberations, she brought her lunch down and sat directly across from the 2 rooms we had reserved for our team throughout the trial. She chose to sit in a position where she could, if she had wanted to pay attention, overhear potentially attorney-client privilege matters. I do not believe that was her intent, though I am always cautious. I spoke to her and told her that I really could not have her sitting anywhere near my clients while we were discussing matters due to privilege. She immediately understood and picked up her food and went down to the other end of the hallway. Geez, Jules, you're so reasonable and obedient and helpful. Mr. Shapiro's photograph reminded me that out of the dozen or so photographs taken of the Kowalskis and our trial team after the verdict, and the photos of our trial team with experts from our case, and the photos of the trial team with various persons from the gallery, and the photos of the Kowalskis and the trial team with various media reporters, that there was one in which Jules is pictured. Although we did not interact with her throughout the trial, she had been present on most days, and I felt a bit bad about excluding her from our area of the hallway earlier that day, so we honored her request for a photo. Certainly, she was not part of our trial team in any aspect. During the course of the trial, there were no settlement discussions between the plaintiffs and the defendant. There was no decision to be made and no advantage to be gained by having any insider knowledge during the deliberations about what the jury was doing. The defendant had filed 3 nominal proposals for settlement, and settlement negotiations with J. Hatch had gone nowhere since the beginning of the case in 2018, even as late as the most recent mediation in June of this year. Succinctly, even if there was some plant in the jury who was communicating to us the progress of the jury's deliberations, there was nothing to be gained because there were no discussions. There was nothing to accept or reject. This is all conjecture, of course, because no secret plant or backdoor communications existed. Similarly, there were no joint decisions on major issues, although I did readily accept advice from Jennifer Anderson, Nick Whitney, and upon occasion, Kelly Perry and Samantha Lawrence. Even input from my team of astute lawyers and legal and paralegals was metered by me, and it is absurd to suggest that I, as lead trial counsel, took suggestions from random people in the audience. Miss Jules FL, thanks for the super chat, says the best defense is a great offense, is what I was taught as a lawyer kid. Yeah. You know, I love this motion. It's so much easier to read than the defense's motion, for sure. And it's also, if you notice, there's no hyperbolic language in it. It's just the facts. Okay, let's see. I had heard at the time and have confirmed in the record that the court discharged this jury and instructed them that they may speak to whomever they wish, with the caveat that none of the lawyers may approach them for comment. Other than that, they were free citizens to talk to whoever they wanted, however they wanted, and about whatever they wanted. None of my trial team approached juror number 1 or any of the other jurors. Finally, as an officer of the court, I must point out my deep concerns over this motion being filed in the first place. From my review of the reaction in the media and public forums, the defense's allegations have done drastic harm to the jury system. Yep, here it is. The motion docks juror number 1 and his wife by revealing juror number 1's full name and their shared address in a footnote on the very first page. There is a strident and at times cruel and malicious segment of the internet population that is dead set against the Kowalskis. Yep, and anyone who supports their case. We're looking at you, Reddit. By placing juror number 1 in the public eye with his name, his wife's name, and their address, the defense places them at substantial risk of harassment and physical harm. The defense took no efforts to keep juror number 1's personally identifiable information confidential or under seal, despite the court's great efforts in this regard. The court should be aware that the defense never conferred with me or my team at any time prior to the motion being filed. There was no attempt to contact me by phone or text to let us know what was coming, or to cooperate to protect juror number 1 and his wife via stipulation or other arrangement, so that we would not challenge the defense's motion for a failure to satisfy Florida R. whatever. The defense's actions were in violation of this court's standing order regarding the filing of motions, but much worse, it indicated defense counsel's reckless disregard for potential consequences that could befall juror number 1 and his wife. This is the best part of the motion, in my opinion. Besides the very first part that says you missed your deadline, this is good. This is real good, and it's true. That's the best thing about plaintiff's motions. They're true. Pursuant to Florida statute, I declare under penalty of perjury that okay, blah, 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 signed Gregory Anderson. Yeah. Okay, sorry. I should say this. Reddit also has a subreddit with people interested in the case that aren't soulless ghouls. The ghouls left our sub and made their own, entitled it free. Yeah, that's the one we're talking about. The Maya Kowalski free one, which is ridiculous. All right, what is Declaration of Jack? He's just basically saying that the defense's motion alleges, this is Jack Kowalski, after the court denied the defense's motion and chose to keep juror number 1, I turned to Jules and nodded my head with a smile. This is false. If you watch the video linked in defendant's motion, I turned to Dr. Scott Richards, who was seated next to Jules in the gallery. In fact, the video provided by defendant shows Jules with her head down at that very moment. At no point did I have any conversation with Jules about wanting or needing to keep jury number 1 on the jury. One of you is asking for my email address again. Let me put it on the screen for you. There you go. My purpose in turning around was to make eye contact with Dr. Scott Richards, our expert psychiatrist, who I had found helpful in assessing the behavior of the various jurors throughout the trial. Of course, at that point, I was aware of the defense's motion to disqualify juror number 1, and I was also aware of the identity and position of the first alternate juror. Leading up to that discussion in court, I had several conversations with Dr. Richards in which we traded our assessment and observations of juror number 1 and the alternate in hopes of coming to the right answer. For that reason, I glanced back at Dr. Richards when the court made its ruling. Okay, so he was looking at Dr. Richards. And then I think we already saw that exhibit. And this is just more stuff about Ethan Shapiro checking the Reddit threads. He says, I do check in on the Reddit threads on occasion. It serves as a great shadow jury. A lot of the he was looking at the wrong jury. Shapiro, you were looking at the wrong shadow jury. We were the ones who were your shadow jury. You should have been listening to. But you didn't. A lot of the commenters picked up on ideas I miss in real time. Thanks for your contributions. I'm super jealous you get to practice in New Orleans, blah, blah, blah. As for the jury, there is one outright hostile juror. I honestly believe he is a plant or knows the Kowalskis. I'm holding out hope for a hung jury. Oh, that's ridiculous. He thinks, oh my God, a plant? That is a very serious charge. All right, more stuff from Shapiro. Read, this is Fat Clark Kent. Juror number 1, wife has close connection to the Kowalskis case and documentary and other alarming comments online. The help we've received from folks like you is amazing. Let's keep this quiet on socials for now. I don't want the other side getting wind of all this help and then deleting a bunch of stuff, so thanks for saving it all. Whoa, what date? What date is on this? So this is proof that they knew about it, and they should have brought it forward to the court if they really thought this was real. And this was on November 11th. What day was the verdict, you guys? I feel like it was around the 11th. All right, what is the rest of this? This is excerpt of post-verdict discussions. All right, we watched all of this, so I'm not going to read transcripts. I think that's it for now. If there's other stuff that I need to go over, we'll do it tomorrow. I'm getting tired. I am tired. So don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out. And make sure that you tune in probably tomorrow. I'm going to be doing, make sure you go to Locals, meganfox.locals.com, and follow me over there for all of the notifications. You can find me on Twitter at meganfoxwriter. You can email me. You saw my email address up on the screen. And don't forget, let me check Venmo and Cash App and stuff. I need to do that before I log off to make sure that I didn't miss any super chats that way. So we're good on Venmo, and I didn't get any Cash App notifications. So we're good. Okay. All right. I'm going to go. You guys have been terrific as usual. And thank you so much for tuning in, all of you. All of you new people here, you're very, very welcome. Please join us on Locals. We have so much fun over there. It's where you get all the good memes. John Shopkins, All Prisoners Hospital. We've got Dr. Jafar. We miss him. And of course, the Twat Waffles over at Court TV. You can't miss them. And Dr. Corcoran, who could forget that? We have all the best memes over on Locals. You guys don't want to miss them. You want to be a part of what we're doing over there. Your Honor, permission to bring in the duck. We need to weigh these witches against a duck to see if they can float. Dr. Perno, who could forget him? There's just much more going on. And hey, the good news is we're not done, folks. The next hearing is December 15th. I imagine that it will be televised, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So please stick around, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back. I will be back. And since it's nighttime, I'll play you out with, we could do the you know what? I haven't heard my regular show end in a while. So we'll do that instead. Love you guys. See you soon.
I was lost, my world is near its end. I almost felt my head is full of a million choices. I am alive, I'm not here to pretend. I love my friends, my heart is filled with a million voices. Oh, this road has many choices. Oh, and my heart, million voices. Come next to me, my friend, embrace the sky. I'm not afraid to fly. It's not the time to say goodbye. I don't wanna say goodbye. No, I don't wanna say. No, I don't wanna say goodbye. This time I know my road is near its end. I almost felt my head is full of a million choices. I am alive, I'm not here to pretend. I love my friends, my heart is filled with a million voices. Oh, this road has many choices. And my heart, million voices. Come next to me, my friend, embrace the sky. I'm not afraid to fly. It's not the time to say goodbye. I don't wanna say goodbye. No, I don't wanna say. No, I don't wanna say goodbye. No, I don't wanna say goodbye.
So I take it that
Johnny's
you've
problem
seen
is he
Cameron
should have
John's
come
bedroom
storming
before.
in there with
Yeah.
a string of
Do you
garlic
recall whether
and
you
some
went
holy
into
water.
Mr. Debson's
Across
first
the crucifix
bedroom?
one.
May the
Do you
power of
recall,
Christ
or no,
compel you.
No, I don't.
You
think so.
realized
Miss
his house
Heather,
was infested with
just up for
succubuses.
that,
And
there's a video here with you of what it, yes. Do you recall while that was there
Succuloters.
when you arrived in the afternoon? I don't remember seeing it now. So while she
No wonder he said drown her before you burn her.
Oh my god.
You,
Next witness.
Now I know
Witness
why
Your
I
Honor,
wanted
now
to drown her.
Glacis. And that
Next
is
witness
also
lives in
by
Romania.
video.
Is that correct?
That begins with Ms. Vasquez.